Chapter 55:20 Yu Zifeng beheaded the old man with a single sword, which shocked the audience. People looked at Yu Zifeng, looked at him who was not showing the slightest breath, like a frail scholar. They couldn't imagine that he was actually a peerless swordsman. Among this group of powerhouses, there are 3 God Emperor level powerhouses, 16 half-step God Emperors, like the one Yu Zifeng beheaded, who have already touched the threshold of half-step God Emperors. There are more than 40 people in total. However, the 3 God Emperor powerhouses are all people whose chi and blood are withered and their lifespan is about to expire. Their aura can only scare those who don't know the depth. And those 16 half-step God Emperors and these 40 strong men are the mainstay here. As a result, the old man was cut off by Yu Zifeng's sword because he talked too much. The most frightening thing was that Yu Zifeng's sword was unpredictable, unstoppable, and impossible to guard against. If this sword was aimed at them, even if they were prepared, they would not be sure that they would be able to receive the sword. Yu Zifeng's sword made them terrified. Even though they had lived endless years, they had never seen such a terrifying sword cultivator. Long Chen stepped forward. At this time, no one dared to stop Long Chen, obediently gave way, and Long Chen and Yu Zifeng easily entered the gate. Yizwisher, long time no see, you are still lazy as always. Long Chen looked at Yi Lingkong and couldn't help laughing. Yi Lingkong felt a little embarrassed at Long Chen's smile. Obviously, he couldn't hide his thoughts from Long Chen, so he said awkwardly, "There is a line drawn by Elder Xinyue on the ground. They dare not take a step beyond the threshold, so we shouldn't act recklessly." Only then did Long Chen know that the line drawn on the ground was drawn by Feng Xinyue. It turned out that Long Chen was on the battlefield of Feng Yu, killing and killing, making these forces hate Long Chen to the bone. In the end, they gathered together, came out in full force, formed an alliance, and came to crusade against Fengshen Hage. And the leader of this alliance is still Brahma Pill Valley, and the dying God Emperor powerhouse in Brahma Pill Valley almost didn't jump up when he saw Long Chen. Because before he came to Fengshenhai Pavilion, he received the news that Lord Shenhui had already gone to Longyu in person, and he would never have to worry about Long Chen again. With the silver-haired King Kong personally dealing with Long Chen, there was no possibility for Long Chen to be alive. However, Long Chen appeared here alive and kicking. He couldn't believe his eyes. When Long Chen understood the ins and outs, he looked at the old man of the God Emperor in Brahma Pill Valley and said, "Old Deng, when you come here, you don't dare to attack and you don't want to retreat. What exactly are you trying to do?" Long Chen didn't make any detours and went straight to the point. This group of people didn't dare to cross the line drawn by Feng Xinyue, which meant that they didn't want to completely tear themselves apart from Fengshen Hage. The line drawn by Feng Xinyue is actually a bottom line. Once touched, it means that the 2 sides will never die. Therefore, these wily and calculating guys were suddenly in a dilemma, and they were already in a dilemma. However, Long Chen did not wrong Yi Lingkong. In fact, when the 2 sides were in conflict, it was easy to get angry. As long as he moved a little bit, he could lead the other party to cross the line. As Long Chen said, this guy is too lazy. He always feels that one more thing is worse than one less thing, so he just keeps spending time with the other party. As for the disciples of Fengshenhai Pavilion, facing endless enemies and the coercion of God Emperor level powerhouses, for them, it is a kind of tempering for their spirit and will. Therefore, one dare not do it, and the other is too lazy to do it, which has become the current deadlock. In fact, Tang Weiner had long wanted to take the Hidden Dragon Legion out, but without Yi Lingkong's approval, she couldn't make the decision on her own, so she could only spend her time like this. Now that Long Chen is back, everyone in the Fengshenhai Pavilion is immediately invigorated and their morale is like a rainbow. Now, Long Chen can be said to be the spiritual leader of Fengshenhai Pavilion. You know, the Hidden Dragon warriors followed Long Chen in the battle and showed their might in the Fenyu battlefield, changing from the decadence in the past. This battle completely made Fengshen Hage proud. Therefore, no matter young or old, no one is not proud of Long Chen. When Long Chen returned, people found the backbone at once, and they even had enough confidence. Seeing Long Chen, respecting the Emperor of Brahma Pill Valley as Lao Deng, going up and down the Fengshenhai Pavilion, he immediately felt both enjoyable and relieved. Because this old-fashioned guy had been relying on the old to sell the old a lot before, and said some angry things. The old man of the god emperor of the Brahma Pill Valley, who was called so by Long Chen, was suddenly so angry that his 7 orifices were smoking, and he said coldly, "Long Chen, you are also the head of the hospital anyway, don't you know how to respect the elders? Come on, even if I respect the elders, I still respect those respected seniors. You are a shameless old lamp, you want virtue but no virtue, you want strength but no strength. Why do you want me to respect you? Is it because you live a long time? So according to you, bastard tortoises live longer, and they deserve respect from others?" Long Chen said disdainfully. The old man was so angry that he was trembling all over, and his hands kept shaking, which made people worry that he might not be able to get up in one breath, and he would be pissed off directly. "What about you? You can't speak well. If you can't speak, just die and let someone who can speak. How can Third Master Long have so much time to waste with you?" Long Chen said impatiently. At this time, the same God Emperor level powerhouse stood up, and he said coldly, "You Fengshanhai Pavilion, you bullied people too much, killed countless disciples of mine, but your attitude was arrogant, and you didn't even apologize. We came here this time just to ask for your attitude. Why? Is this also wrong?" Long Chen couldn't help but look at the old man. The old man was a strong monster, but his chi and blood were so withered that Long Chen couldn't even tell which race he belonged to from his chi and blood. However, this old man's speech is tough on the outside and soft on the inside, leaving room for it, which is a bit of a level. Long Chen asked, "What kind of attitude do you want?" The old man said, "There is a saying in your human race that people die and cannot be resurrected, and grievances and resentments go with them. Hatred is meaningless, and it is only to learn lessons from it. Quickly get to the point." Long Chen waved his hand impatiently and started talking nonsense just as he said how good he was. The old man was not angry when Long Chen interrupted him and said seriously, "We need Fengshanhage to make us a compensation. And this compensation is to allow our disciples to enter the Tianmai Xian realm through the passage of Fengshanhage." Tianmai Profound Realm? Long Chen was taken aback. What was that? However, at this moment, a cold voice came, "Get out." The owner of that voice was none other than Feng Sinyu's voice. Obviously, she knew what the man meant and directly rejected it. However, when they heard Feng Sinyu's voice, the complexions of these strong men suddenly darkened, and the old man gritted his teeth. "If you don't want to, then don't blame us, and fight to the death with your Fengshanhage." Chapter 55:21. Hearing the old man's words, Long Chen couldn't help laughing. "Your lifespan is about to expire. To put it bluntly, half of your foot is already in the coffin. How can you fight to the death?" But after Long Chen laughed, he suddenly felt that something was wrong. He suddenly found that there was a faint black air between the eyebrows of the 3 God Emperor level old men. Black chi, also known as death chi, when this chi appears, it indicates that the life of this person is not long. In the mortal world, there are people who are proficient in physiognomy, who can tell that a person is about to die by looking at his breath. Although Long Chen didn't know physiognomy, he could see that something was wrong. Although the lifespan of the 3 God Emperors was about to dry up, when a powerhouse of this level died, he would undergo transformation. They will choose to perform transformation in the ancestral land, so that although their bodies die, their spirits will not die, and they can protect the ancestral land and bless their luck. At this time, their brows were full of blackness, and it seemed that they would die at any time, which aroused Long Chen's vigilance. "Huh?" The old man looked up to the sky and laughed loudly. At the same time, the other 2 God Emperor powerhouses also laughed arrogantly. Their faces were full of ferocious expressions while laughing. "If that's the case, then the dragon veins of your Fengshanhai Pavilion will be destroyed, preventing you from entering the heavenly vein profound realm." The 3 of them stopped drinking at the same time and formed seals with their hands, and then their brows were filled with black air, and the air of death rose. "Spell?" Long Chen was startled. "What's going on? All 3 of them are dying, even if they use spells. How much curse power can they have?" However, before Long Chen could react, the black air between the 3 people's brows spread rapidly, and then there was a terrifying scream. The whole body began to rot, and even the primordial spirit was burned, excruciating pain. Long Chen and the others were stunned. What is the situation? The power of the curse is out of control. Why did they start to curse their own people? Asshole, Yi Lingkong suddenly thought of something, his face changed drastically, and his hands quickly formed seals. It's useless, it's too late, we have already prepared to use everyone's life to form a curse force to pollute your dragon veins. From then on, within 100 years, the dragon veins of your Fengshanhai pavilion will not be able to be used, and your disciples will be plagued by bad luck and accompanied by killing stars. Unless you stay in the Fengshanhai pavilion, you will die in a foreign country as soon as you go out, ha. The God Emperor powerhouse of the Monster Beast clan laughed out loud, his face was already rotten, and his appearance was hideous and terrifying. In addition to bearing the curse, you also have to bear the crime of beheading hundreds of millions of powerful people from the 87 major forces of various clans. From then on, there will be countless people who will demand their lives from your Fengshanhai pavilion, ha. That the God Emperor powerhouse of Brahma Pill Valley also laughed, very proud. At this time, Tang Weiner and the others understood why the other party sent 3 old men with little combat power, not to scare people at all, but to use their remaining life force as a lure to launch this luck curse. Except for the 3 God Emperor level elders, the others didn't seem to know about it at all. They wailed in pain and wanted to run out, but unfortunately, they soon turned into endless black smoke. Hateful, Tang Weiner and the others gritted their teeth. The life force of billions of strong people gathered into a curse, and the instinct of life made them retreat involuntarily. They never expected that the other party would be so vicious that they would plot against themselves, and they wanted Fengshanhai to take the blame. Seeing such a terrifying power of curse, Long Chen couldn't help being shocked and angry, but he didn't dare to touch such a terrifying curse. When everyone's bodies were transformed into black air, and there was a tendency to penetrate into the ground, Long Chen gritted his teeth and wanted to use Lei Linger's power to see if he could use the power of thunder to dispel the curse. However, Long Chen was not sure at all. This kind of curse was a curse initiated by divine power. Everything was caused by Brahma Pill Valley. If not done well, Lei Linger would also be infected. However, Long Chen no way, only to try. However, just when Long Chen was about to summon Lei Linger, the mysterious ancient vine trembled slightly in the chaotic space. Immediately afterwards, Long Chen felt a strong summoning intent. Long Chen's mind tightened, his palm trembled slightly, and a black pattern appeared in Long Chen's palm. That pattern is exactly what the mysterious ancient vine looks like. As soon as it appeared, a small whirlpool appeared in Long Chen's palm. The vortex was small, but its suction was extremely terrifying. The endless black air in front of him was sucked away by it in an instant, and the world infected by the black air became clear, as if nothing had happened. At that moment, even Long Chen was stunned, and the terrifying power of the curse was actually absorbed by it. After absorbing the black air, the ancient vine pattern in Long Chen's palm disappeared instantly, and Long Chen immediately sank his mind into the chaotic space, only to see that the 3-foot-high ancient vine, after absorbing the cursed air, became more energetic. The immature leaves are like jasper, with a restrained brilliance, and the black lightning covering it is getting thicker and thicker, and the pressure is getting more and more terrifying. What shocked Long Chen the most was that after absorbing the power of the curse, its body grew at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few breaths, it grew more than a foot taller. When Long Chen's consciousness approached it, it danced its buds slowly, as if confiding to Long Chen, but unfortunately, Long Chen couldn't understand its emotions. Such a terrifying curse power is actually a great tonic for you? Good guy, what is your origin? Looking at the mysterious ancient vine, Long Chen couldn't help feeling his scalp tingle. Now, Long Chen knew nothing about this mysterious ancient vine, but his intuition told him that the origin of this ancient vine might scare people to death. At this time, it was filled with black energy, probably still absorbing the power of the curse. Long Chen watched it for a while and saw that its absorption had no effect on the nearby Heavenly Dao tree and 7 treasure glazed tile tree, so he retreated with confidence. The power of the curse was taken away by the mysterious ancient vine, the original endless strong disappeared, and the world returned to its original appearance, as if nothing had happened, and it seemed that people had a nightmare. After solving these problems, he walked over with Yu Zifeng and first introduced Yi Lingkong to Yu Zifeng. Yi Lingkong looked at Yu Zifeng and couldn't help sighing, "I've only seen such a terrifying swordsman in my life." Even with Yi Lingkong's knowledge, he had never seen such a powerful swordsman, and everyone in the Fengshanhai pavilion even regarded Yu Zifeng as a heavenly man. Long Chen looked at Tang Weiner. Tang Weiner was very knowledgeable and directly introduced Yu Zifeng to the hidden dragon warriors. When they learned that Yu Zifeng was the commander of the 4th Army of the Dragon Blood Legion, the group of female soldiers all exclaimed, "Let's go, Elder Xinyue is already waiting for you," Yi Lingkong said. It was too late to talk to Tang Weiner, and everyone followed Yi Lingkong to the Fengshanhai pavilion. Chapter 55-22. In the Fengshan Great Hall, the magnificent Feng Xinyue sat on the futon, and Long Chen, Tang Weiner, and Yu Zifeng sat in front of her respectfully. Feng Xinyue looked at Long Chen, then at Yu Zifeng, nodded and said, "Very good, after going through many tests, you finally touched the threshold of swordsmanship." Long Chen and Yu Zifeng were surprised when they heard that, with Yu Zifeng's strength, he only touched the threshold of the way of sword. If someone else said something like this, both of them would feel that the other was provoking. Feng Xinyue said, "Back then, the sword god used a long sword to shock the world, suppress ghosts and gods, and unite human and sword, known as the strongest blade in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The sword god is lonely and arrogant, and has been alone all his life. He has never accepted disciples, and has not established a system of ethics. When he was about to fall, he integrated the will of the sword into the long sword, and the long sword shattered, and the fragments crossed the heavens and worlds, and the divine brilliance covered 9 heavens and 10 earths. Before his fall, the sword god made a great wish to bless the practitioners of swordsmanship with the power of spirit and soul, to attract the power of heaven and earth, to grasp the cause and effect of the universe, to guide the source of all ways, to guide them to be correct, to correct their actions, and to enter the gate of swordsmanship. Now you, although your will is firm, your Tao heart is as strong as iron, and your strength is strong, but after all, you are just wandering outside the gate of the way of swordsmanship." Hearing Feng Xinyue mentioning the sword god, Yu Zifeng immediately lifted his spirits, and said respectfully, "Disciple is dull, what is this gate of swordsmanship?" Yu Zifeng studied swordsmanship all his life, and he boasted that his understanding of swordsmanship was unmatched by anyone, but Feng Xinyue's words were a great blow to him. If he is still just wandering outside the gate, then in this world, who can enter the gate of swordsmanship? Feng Xinyue shook her head and said, "I don't understand the lineage of the sword god. You asked me what is the gate of the way of the sword, it really stumps me. But as far as I know, from ancient times to the present, there is only one person who has entered the door of the way of swordsmanship." Yu Zifeng's heart trembled when he heard it. He was a little unconvinced before, but when he heard this sentence, he immediately understood that from ancient times to the present, only the sword god entered that door. Although Yu Zifeng was conceited, there were 2 people he admired the most in his heart. One was Long Chen, otherwise, with his aloof and indifferent personality, he would never follow anyone. And the other one is the sword god. It can be said that the sword god is the master he has never met. In his heart, he is supreme. Hearing that only sword god entered the door, he was immediately convinced. "So, he is the old man who can become a god?" Long Chen asked. Feng Xinyue nodded and said, "However, he has never been inherited, and he was only made a god after he fell." "Why is this?" The 3 of Long Chen didn't understand. Feng Xinyue smiled slightly and said, "The arrogance of the sword god is beyond your imagination, because in his era, looking at the 9 heavens and 10 places, the so-called gods, the so-called emperors, and emperors were worthless in his eyes. Looking at the 9 heavens and 10 places, there is only one person who can catch his eyes, so he has no intention of passing on his supreme supernatural powers. Because in his era, no one could inherit his mantle. When he fell, maybe he saw the distant future, so he changed his mind. With the will of the soul, threw the long sword in his hand, scattered in the 9 heavens and 10 places, and sprinkled blessings on the eternal sky, so that his inheritance will never disappear. And you are one of the beneficiaries of this endless river of blessings. Yu Zifeng had a shocked look on his face. It was the first time he had heard the legend about the sword god until now. Yu Zifeng couldn't help but wanted to ask, but Feng Xinyue held out her hand to stop him. There are some things that cannot be asked. Obviously, Feng Xinyue knew what Yu Zifeng wanted to ask. She couldn't answer it, and she couldn't answer his question either. In the end, Yu Zifeng could only swallow what he wanted to say. Although Yu Zifeng didn't say it, both Long Chen and Tang Weiner knew what he wanted to ask. The sword god is so terrifying, why did he fall again? The sword god is so arrogant, so who is the only person who catches his eyes? This is a taboo topic, even Feng Xinyue can't talk about it, but from her expression, it can be seen that she must know. There is only one sword god in the world who entered that gate, so he is called the sword god, but we met a sect called Lingtian God Sword Sect, and their ancestors called themselves Lingtian Sword God. Do seniors know him? Long Chen asked. Feng Xinyue said, "This is to mention what I said before, the sword god blew up his sword and scattered the world. The guy named Ling Tian got one of the fragments and thought he had obtained the inheritance of the sword god. However, this guy was once a contemporary figure of the sword god, and he wanted to worship the sword god countless times. But the sword god looked down on his aptitude, let alone his character, and ignored him at all. And at that time he was also a very famous swordsman. After hitting a wall, he held a grudge and didn't dare to offend the sword god, but deliberately slandered and belittled the sword god behind his back. Later, after the fall of the sword god, I don't know why he got a fragment of the divine sword, and after feeling the sword intent of the sword god, he actually made a breakthrough, made rapid progress in the way of the sword, and became a super master. From then on, he called himself Lingtian Sword God, founded the Lingtian God Sword Sect, recruited disciples, and recruited sword talents from all over the world. But because the sword god had just fallen, this guy jumped out and called himself the sword god. His admirers were dissatisfied and began to crusade against Lingtian Shenjianzong. Although Lingtian was formidable, there were quite a few sword masters at that time, and they were also fanatical admirers of the sword god. Although they couldn't catch the sword god's eyes, it didn't mean that they were not strong. Lingtian Shenjianzong was killed so much that he cried for his father and mother, and finally fled into the small world and hid. You met them again. It seems that Lingshen's ambition is about to start again. A piece of fragment can make him reborn. Yu Zifeng was in a frenzy, and he looked at Long Chen. Long Chen stretched out a big hand and grabbed it suddenly. The meaning was very obvious, one word, grab. Seeing Long Chen's expression, Feng Xinyue was speechless for a while, and said angrily, "You two are really bold that Ling Tian is cautious, insidious and cunning, but his strength is amazing. You need to know that he survived from that era. If he was not strong enough to resist the erosion of the years, he would have become a pile of bones long ago. With your current strength, trying to snatch the treasure from him is tantamount to hitting a stone with an egg." Hearing what Feng Xinyue said, Long Chen patted Yu Zifeng on the shoulder and comforted him. "It doesn't matter. I'm not afraid of thieves stealing it, but I'm afraid of thieves thinking about it. This thing will be ours sooner or later. When we have a chance to meet Mo Nian in the future, he has a lot of tricks. I don't believe he can't get it." Long Chen knew that this fragment of the divine sword represented the inheritance of the sword god, and Yu Zifeng must be eager to get it, but it seemed unrealistic to grab it now. "However, you don't have to worry, the piece in his hand is hard for you to get, but I know the whereabouts of the other piece." Feng Xinyue's words made Yu Zifeng's heart beat wildly. Chapter 55-23. That fragment is actually not a secret, it is in the Tianmai Profound Realm. And the Tianmai Profound Realm is located in the center of the Tianyuan world. Whenever the Tianyuan world's great luck turns, it will draw the energy of the dragon veins from all over the place, and when the energy of the dragon veins gathers, the 9 heavens will split, and the heavenly veins will break through the sky and fall on the ground. With the emergence of the heavenly vein profound realm, the secrets of the heavens and the earth will be affected, and all laws and principles will also undergo changes. At this time, it is the best time to condense the Tianmai dragon energy, and condensing the Tianmai dragon energy in the Tianmai Xian territory is even more effective. The heavenly vein's profound realm was just a random name given to it by later generations. No one knew its original name, let alone its origin. People only know that it is a mysterious realm, a piece of pure land, a mysterious place that automatically escapes into space and hides during the War of Chaos. According to historical records, the Tianmai profound realm has appeared 8 times in total, but there is no pattern at all. Sometimes it will appear once in millions of years, and sometimes it will only appear once in hundreds of millions of years. However, every time it appears, it represents the arrival of the great fortune of an era. At this time, various dormant forces will appear one after another to compete for luck. Those clowns wanted to curse our dragon veins with the air of death, but they didn't know that the dragon veins of Fengshanhai Pavilion had already turned. Bad luck blesses the disciples. A disdainful smile appeared on the corner of Feng Sinyu's mouth. Obviously, although these people have vicious intentions, their IQs are limited. Moreover, the news they got was many years ago, so it doesn't make any sense at all. Even if they pollute that piece of land, Fengshanhai Pavilion only needs to move the gate to another place, let it be abandoned for 100 years, the power of the curse will dissipate by itself, and there is no threat to Fengshanhai Pavilion. The reason why Feng Xinyue didn't take any action was that on the one hand, there was no need to do anything, and on the other hand, it was also a test of their adaptability. It's just that Long Chen forcibly put away the power of the curse, which was beyond her expectation. Feng Xinyue continued, dragon veins from all directions gather at the Tianmai profound realm, and if you have the power of the dragon veins, you can use the power of the dragon veins to open the door and enter the Tianmai profound realm first. However, the dragon veins extracted from the Tianmai profound realm are not limited to the Tianyuan world, there are other worlds as well. In the Tianmai profound realm, you will meet powerful people from various worlds, and there will also be legendary races. With the opening of the Tianmai profound realm, the competition for the power of the Tianmai will be a truly bloody storm, and only the absolutely strong can survive. The reason why those guys think they will threaten us is because everyone is afraid of bad luck. Because the Tianmai profound realm is too dangerous, luck will also play an important role in surviving. Fortunately, I don't rely on luck. Long Chen couldn't help curling his lips. Don't mention luck, because Long Chen would get angry when he mentioned luck. However, I have to admit that for ordinary people, luck can really determine life and death in many cases. Feng Xinyue continued, the Tianmai profound realm is too mysterious, hiding endless secrets, a piece of land without an owner, why it can seek good luck and avoid evil, automatically hide itself, avoid the disaster of war, and why it appears no one has ever been able to figure it out. But there is one thing, there are countless treasures hidden inside, among which are the fragments of the Excalibur left by the sword god. Since there are fragments of the divine sword, no one has been able to obtain it for so many years? Yu Zifeng couldn't help asking. Feng Xinyue said, the kendo of the fragment of the divine sword has always been too strong. For countless years, no one dared to touch it. If you get too close, you will be injured by the sword energy, and even die physically and mentally. Most sword cultivators will only be next to it to feel the sword intent. No one can approach it, let alone take it away. Therefore, it has been there for so many years. Currently used, the app with the most complete and best audio for listening to books, integrated with 4 major speech synthesis engines, over 100 kinds of timbres, and an artifact that supports offline reading, Huanyuan app. Com Source app, with your strength, I think you can get close to it, but whether you can get its approval is still unknown. When Ling Tian obtained the fragment of the divine sword, it was because the sword god had just fallen, and the vitality of the divine sword was severely injured, and the power of the fragment was at its weakest, so he could obtain it. And the fragment in the Tianmai profound realm, nourished by the laws of the profound realm, gradually gave birth to its own will, and it can be said to be extremely difficult to obtain. However, if you can get it, you can be like Ling Tian, no longer wandering outside the gate of the sword, but stepping up to a higher level. Don't underestimate this step. Once you step on this step, you will see the real direction, and you will not bump around like a headless chicken. Feng Xinyu's words made Yu Zifeng very excited. Just as Feng Xinyue said, his swordsmanship seems to have fallen into a bottleneck at the current state. It was like standing on a precipitous peak, surrounded by mist, unable to see the direction and the road. He dared not act rashly, because if he missed a step, he would be doomed forever. This is what Feng Xinyue said, wandering outside the Taoist gate. If you get this fragment of the divine sword, you will have the guidance of the sword god. At least, he knows which direction the future road is in. Not only the shard of the divine sword, but also my imperial Dao Nilin is there. At this moment, the voice of Chaos Dragon Emperor suddenly sounded in Long Chen's mind. Hearing the voice of the Chaos Dragon Emperor, Long Chen almost didn't jump up. Senior, isn't your imperial Dao Nilin in the 10,000 Dragons Nest in Emperor Dragon Valley? When did I tell you? Chaos Dragon Emperor said. This? When Long Chen thought about it, it seemed that the Chaos Dragon Emperor hadn't said this sentence. However, when the Chaos Dragon Emperor said that he would guide him to find the Emperor's Way Nilin, he always thought that the Emperor's Way Nilin was in the 10,000th place in the Emperor Dragon Valley. In the Dragon's Nest. As she said, this time in the Tianmeixiuan territory, there must be a bloody battle, and I have a hunch that there will be monsters from the era of chaos entering it. You have never encountered a monster of that level. This time, you must be careful. Chaos Dragon Emperor said. Even the Chaos Dragon Emperor used the word, tens of millions, and Long Chen couldn't help but tremble. Some of them came for my Nilin, some came for other treasures. In short, once the heavenly vein profound realm is opened, it will be a bloodbath. This time, you can no longer break through alone, otherwise you will die inside. You must rely on the strength of the Dragon Blood Legion. The Chaos Dragon Emperor said seriously. Long Chen nodded. Hearing what the Chaos Dragon Emperor said, it seemed that this Tianmai profound realm would be the biggest test in his life. This heavenly vein profound realm not only has the Chaos Dragon Emperor's reverse scale, but also the fragments of the divine sword. These are all insane treasures. And whether it's Feng Xinyue or Chaos Dragon Emperor, their tone reveals that there are definitely more than these treasures inside. At this moment, the divine light flickered in the hall, and Long Chen and the others were taken aback. This was a signal for an urgent report. Chapter 5524. The Chief Cabinet is here. The left envoy of the Fengshen Yilingkong came and said 5 words with a serious face. Long Chen and Tang Weiner couldn't help being taken aback when they heard the word, Zonga. What does it mean? Could it be that Fengshenhai Pavilion is a branch pavilion? Hearing that the main pavilion was coming, Feng Xinyue couldn't help but frowned and said, Where is the pavilion master? Retreat. Yilingkong spread his hands and said helplessly. Feng Xinyue was speechless for a while. She looked at Yilingkong. Yilingkong's scalp felt numb all of a sudden, and hurriedly said, Please forgive me, I can't handle it. Feng Xinyue looked at Long Chen. Long Chen immediately felt something was wrong, but before he could speak, Feng Xinyue said, From now on, Long Chen, you are in charge of Fengshenhai Pavilion's affairs. If someone asks about your position, just say, You are now the deputy head of Fengshenhai Pavilion. After Feng Xinyue finished speaking, the figure disappeared, and Long Chen was stunned. What's the matter? You should make it clear. Long Chen looked at Yilingkong, and Yilingkong smiled wryly. Elder Xinyue doesn't like socializing, and am not good at socializing. This time, I'm afraid I'm going to trouble you, brother. No, I should trouble the deputy pavilion master. What's the situation? The deputy pavilion master can be appointed at will? Long Chen was stunned. Yilingkong said, Elder Xinyue has a special status. She said that an appointment is an appointment. What's more, the pavilion master is in retreat, so there must be someone in charge. Long Chen's head grew bigger all of a sudden, which is too deceitful, and Feng Xinyu's handshaking shopkeeper was too fast, so fast that Long Chen was caught off guard. What do you mean by Fengshenhai Pavilion? There are people from the main pavilion, and it has been a long time since the pavilion master received him. It's a big air. Let me see, what kind of person is it that I need to come to worship? At this moment, a loud voice rang out, shaking the hall, and then a burly old man with white hair and beard and a stern face walked in. And behind him, there are 70 or 80 people, except for a few old men. The rest are all young men and women. The old man in the lead is a half-step God-Emperor powerhouse. Perhaps because of his anger, his divine patterns circulated all over his body, and his divine power fluctuated astonishingly. As soon as he entered, a terrifying coercion instantly filled the entire hall. The few old men behind him are all powerful in the human sovereign realm. However, these human sovereign powerhouses have an amazing aura, far surpassing ordinary human sovereigns, and their eyes are restrained, hidden, and they are all masters. In the back is a group of young disciples. Their clothes are basically the same as those of Fengshen Hage disciples, but they are more luxurious. Long Chen saw that their clothes were entwined with gold threads, and the fluctuations were abnormal. Obviously, there was a powerful formation FA blessing. Even Tang Weiner's unique costumes as a goddess can't compare with them. The clothes alone are several grades higher than Tang Weiner. These people, whether they are old or young, are proud of each other, their chins are raised high, and they can't wait to look at people with their nostrils. However, it has to be said that the aura of these people from top to bottom is astonishing, especially these young disciples. Each of them is like a sharp sword out of its sheath, with a sharp aura that seems to be able to split the void. They are all first-class masters. Their aura is ancient and dark, with a clear aura of chaos. Obviously, they are all sealed powerhouses, and the power of blood and blood is not displayed. It should be that they have just been awakened not long ago, and the power of blood and blood has not yet fully recovered. When they saw these people, Long Chen and Tang Weiner were startled. The power of qi and blood had not been recovered, and there was such a terrifying aura. If it was fully recovered, it would be terrible. As soon as Long Chen saw the faces and aura of these people, Long Chen immediately understood why the pavilion master couldn't retreat. Feng Xinyue left, and Yi Lingkong was unwilling to receive them even if he was killed. Although I don't know the specific origins of this group of people, but guessing from the name, Zonga, and the superior aura of these people, we can see a lot of things. This group of people saw that there were 3 young disciples here, and only Tang Weiner was wearing the clothes of Fengshen Hage disciples. Long Chen was wearing black clothes and black robes, and Yu Zifeng was wearing a green gown. They were stunned. The old man looked at Yi Lingkong and said in a cold voice, "You are the manager here, right? Let me ask you, what's the reason for not lining up to welcome someone from the main cabinet when you know it's coming? Are you planning to rebel?" Yi Lingkong also had a good temper. Facing the old man's aggressive questioning, he just kept silent and didn't explain. Long Chen winked at Tang Weiner and Yu Zifeng. The two immediately understood, followed Long Chen and walked out, as if they hadn't seen this group of people. Long Chen is not a fool either. He can tell at a glance that these guys are not easy to mess with, so he just doesn't bother to talk to them, just pretend nothing happened. When Long Chen left, Yi Lingkong was also thick-skinned. He actually followed behind the 3 of them and wanted to get away. The performance of the 3 of them almost exploded the old man's lungs. I have seen humiliating people, but I have never seen such humiliating people. Anyway, you should say something. What's the matter if you leave without saying a word? Ignore us? Treat us like air? The anger of these people came up all of a sudden. Stop, are you deaf or dumb? Can't speak? A disciple took a step across and stretched out his big hand, blocking Long Chen's path. Why are you swearing? Long Chen couldn't help frowning. Is this considered cursing? You didn't respond when I talked to you, and you refused to answer questions. Do we think you are deaf and dumb? The man who stopped Long Chen sneered. According to what you said, your mouth is so smelly, I thought you just ate shit and don't want to talk to you, can't you? Long Chen retorted. Court death. The man was furious, stopped Long Chen's hand, and suddenly grabbed Long Chen's neck. Snapped, as a result, before his hand touched Long Chen's neck, Long Chen's big hand had already smacked his face. Puff! There was a bang, blood splashed, half of the man's face was shattered by Long Chen's slap, and he flew out, causing those people to exclaim. This is because Long Chen deliberately restrained a lot of strength, otherwise, with his weak body, Long Chen could slap him casually and explode him. The kid is crazy. Seeing Long Chen attacking and hurting someone, an old human emperor was furious and slapped Long Chen with his palm. At this time, the strong men who came with them were furious and grabbed their weapons one after another. However, just as the old man made a move, a cold long sword appeared silently and pointed at the old man's forehead. The old man's whole body froze, and everyone was shocked. Yu Zifeng's long sword pointed at the old man's brow, the tip of the sword had pierced his skin, and blood slowly slid down the long sword. On the long sword, the power is condensed but not released. Anyone can feel the overwhelming power in the long sword. Once Yu Zifeng activates it, the old man will die immediately on the spot. Yu Zifeng didn't say a word, his face was calm, but his calm made people's heart chill. At this moment, in the hall, there was a deathly silence, and a needle could be heard. Chapter 55-25 Yu Zifeng's sword was too sudden, no one saw his movement clearly, the long sword had already hit the old man's eyebrow. The swordsmanship that puts people to death is not terrible, but what is more frightening than it is that at the moment when Yu Zifeng's sword stabs out, there are no senses among the strong people present. In other words, no matter who the sword stabs at, the result will be the same, and no one can avoid it. The deadly sword, but people can't feel any danger, this is the most terrifying. At that moment, the expressions of this group of people all changed. At first, their minds were all attracted by Yi Lingkong, and later by Long Chen. Although some people focused part of their attention on Tang Weiner, no one paid attention to Yu Zifeng. Because in their eyes, Yu Zifeng's fighting power was almost zero, and he couldn't pose any threat to them at all. However, Yu Zifeng's sword clearly told them that their perceptions had been deceived. Yu Zifeng restrained the old man. The old man was startled and angry, but he didn't dare to move, because he knew that his life and death depended on Yu Zifeng's thought. Even the half-step human emperor could not save him. Long Chen looked at the old man, patted his wrinkled face lightly with his big hand and said, "Young man, don't be so impulsive. Remember, impulsiveness is the devil, it will drag you into the abyss of death." The old man was frightened and angry, but he didn't dare to resist. He let Long Chen's hand slap his face, and he didn't dare to say a word. Seeing Long Chen calling the old man a young man, Tang Weiner almost didn't laugh out loud. She was so old and called him a young man. Long Chen was too hurtful. It was clearly a mockery of his age, but he was still so naive. It is simply murder. However, when Long Chen slapped the old man's face, people were shocked to find that the long sword pointed at the old man's brow had been withdrawn at some point. Yu Zifeng stood there, as if he had never done anything. Everything just now seemed to be an illusion. This group of people understood that these people in front of them were definitely not idle people, and their previous arrogance disappeared all of a sudden. The half-step God Emperor Realm Elder suppressed his anger, looked at Yi Lingkong and said, "Who are you?" "But the Pavilion Master?" He saw that Yi Lingkong was also a half-step God Emperor level powerhouse, so he thought that Yi Lingkong was the one in power. Even if he wasn't the Pavilion Master, he was the Deputy Pavilion Master. Seeing the person asking, Yi Lingkong shook his head like a rattle. "I'm just a little Fengshenwusher, not a Pavilion Master. I don't have any power in my hands. Don't ask me if you have anything to ask. Me, I don't know anything." The left envoy of the Wind God. In order to shirk responsibility, Yi Lingkong accidentally revealed his identity, and these people couldn't help but turn pale with shock. Fengshenwusher, that is a very special position, even more honorable than the Pavilion Master. They all missed it. It's just that Yi Lingkong looks lazy and always listless. Who would have thought that he was the envoy of the Wind God? Seeing that his identity was exposed, Yi Lingkong hurriedly said, "I, the left envoy of the Fengshen, don't care about anything, and everything is at the orders of the Vice Pavilion Master Long." Yi Lingkong kicked the trouble to Long Chen at once, and Long Chen was walking out of the hall at this time, and he was about to sneak out. At this time, the eyes of the group of people were all on Long Chen. Long Chen was speechless for a while. "So can't you say a few more words of nonsense? After I go out, you reveal my identity again. At that time I have slipped away." At this time, if he slips away again, it will be a bit shameful. Vice Pavilion Master Long? This group of people were all stunned. This young man turned out to be the deputy head of the Fengshanhai Pavilion? Seeing that he couldn't leave, Long Chen simply turned his head and said, "I am the deputy pavilion master of Fengshanhai Pavilion. If you have anything to do, just say it." The old man suppressed the shock in his heart and said, "This old man is the commander of the Fengshan General Pavilion." Long Chen was startled, but he still said casually, "Is that right?" Because according to Long Chen's cognition, those who usually call themselves commanders are usually deputy, and if they are positive, they will call themselves grand commanders. The old man was suddenly embarrassed, nodded and said, "That's right, old." Jin Ku, the deputy commander of Yufeng in the Fengshan's main pavilion, met the deputy chief of the dragon. Before, the old man claimed to be an old man, but Long Chen exposed his details with a single sentence, and he immediately understood that the young man in front of him was unusual, and it was better to be honest. Changed the old man to the following, and finally, saluted Long Chen with his fists together to show respect. It has to be said that in the world of practice, the strong are respected. They were arrogant and domineering before, but now that they have seen the power here, they are much more honest. Long Chen clasped his fist slightly and said, "Long Chen, everyone is not an outsider, so there is no need for etiquette. Let's get straight to the point. Come here, do you have any instructions?" The old man said, "The opening of the Tianmai Profound Realm is imminent, and there has been no news from the branch. The main hospital specially sent the old cough and sent us to check it out." Long Chen didn't know anything about the general hospital's situation, but he couldn't show his feet, so he nodded and said, "The situation in Tianyuan world is unknown, the dragon's pulse has not yet awakened, everything is under observation, and there is no useful information to report. It's not that we are lazy." Long Chen didn't know the situation, so he could only talk nonsense, and the old man didn't know the truth, so he could only nod his head to express his understanding. Before the old man continued to ask questions, Long Chen was afraid of revealing his flaws, so he asked directly, "Over there, I don't know what deployment and planning are there, how do we need to cooperate?" When Long Chen asked, the old man replied directly, "The 30 million sealed Tianjiao in the general courtyard have been awakened. After 7 days, they will come to the Fengshanhai Pavilion. At that time, they may need. When the old man said this, he suddenly became hesitant, and Long Chen smiled. "Do we need to obey their orders?" Actually, it doesn't count as obeying orders, but everyone cooperates. After all, the General Academy has more disciples and stronger strength. Most importantly, in the Heavenly Veins Profound Realm, there are endless dangers, and there must be a commander in order to maintain the integrity of the combat power and reduce casualties," said the old man. Long Chen laughed. "To put it bluntly, don't you still want the branch to obey the General Hospital? It's okay to obey the General Academy, but when you come up, you put on a posture of superiority, afraid that when the time comes, your arrogance will not treat the disciples of our branch as human beings. We will do a good job of reception, and we will also make room for these people to rest. But on the so-called obedience and command, I need to reserve my opinion." Long Chen responded, "Reserved opinions? What do you mean? Do you dare to go to the Tianmai Xian realm to die because of the disciples of your branch?" At this time, a female disciple in the crowd couldn't help but stand up and sneered. The sarcasm was beyond words. As soon as the woman opened her mouth, the faces of the others changed instantly. Chapter 55-26. What's the meaning? Seeing that the woman had just been intimidated, and now she became arrogant again, Tang Weiner immediately became angry and asked with a cold face, "What's the meaning?" The woman sneered and said, "Without our chief pavilion's action, just relying on the strength of your branch pavilions to enter the Tianmai Profound Realm and face the powerhouses of all races, what is it? Although my words don't sound good, they are true. You know, the chief pavilion master said, don't look at our sealed Tianjiao, there are only more than 30 million, including the current Tianjiao, it is in the hundreds of millions. But once they enter the Tianmai Profound Realm, if half of them come back alive, It is already the blessing of the wind god. With the power of the general pavilion, it is not optimistic. If you people enter the Tianmai profound realm alone, there will only be one outcome, and that is the entire army will be wiped out. You can only have a chance of living if you are attached to the power of the general cabinet. The so-called loyal words are harsh, but what I said is the truth. Hearing that woman's words, Tang Weiner was furious at first, thinking that she was too arrogant. But according to what she said, with so many strong people, if half of them come back, it will be considered a high incense, so the danger in the Tianmai profound realm really shocked her. Qingya, if you have something to say, please speak up without personal emotions, the leader said. After finishing speaking, the commander turned his head to look at Long Chen and said, Qingya was sealed early and has never experienced anything in the world, so she can't control her emotions well and is easily agitated. But she is also kind. I hope you will not be offended. After all, the main branch of the branch is a family. You are right. That commander, who was very polite to Long Chen at this time, actually used you. He is considered an old fritter, and he didn't see what was going on at first, but the more he looked at Long Chen, the more he realized that he couldn't understand Long Chen at all. And whether it was Long Chen or Yu Zifeng, their eyes were always as calm as water, so quiet that it was terrifying. He suddenly felt something strange, so he tried to speak politely so as not to cause any trouble. Perhaps it was because the older the world was, the less timid he was. Among all the people, he was the most cautious. What he said was a bit level, not only praised the woman, but also made Long Chen and others feel embarrassed to care about her, so as not to spoil the atmosphere. The woman said again, don't think that we are the best among the 30 million sealed people. To be honest, we are the bottom of these people. It is because of our average strength that it is easier to be awakened. We are the first batch to be awakened, and we just happened to accompany the commander to walk around. As soon as the woman opened her mouth, the expressions of the other disciples became a little unnatural. Obviously, they were not willing to accept the word bottom, but they had to admit that it was true. Thank you for your reminder, and thank you for your kindness. However, I still have the same attitude as before, and I will reserve my opinion. Long Chen said. Seeing that Long Chen refused to enter, her words were in vain, and she couldn't help feeling angry and anxious. Long Chen waved his hand and said, Miss Qingya, I can understand your feelings, but I also have my principles. The main institute is strong, while our branch institutes are weak. If they merge together, the branch institutes will of course belong to the commander-in-chief of the General Institute. However, the disciples in the branch are all messing with me, and I have to be responsible to them. If the main academy has an excellent commander, we are naturally willing to integrate into it. But if someone is arrogant and likes to look at people with their lower eyelids, it will make people feel a little uncomfortable. Especially on the battlefield, how do we know, will he let us be cannon fodder and sacrifice it just because he doesn't like us? How is this possible? The woman said angrily. Don't tell me it's impossible. Nothing is impossible in this world. What if such a thing happens? What do you guarantee? Long Chen asked. This? The woman was speechless for a moment. She didn't know how to answer. After all, she was just a disciple, and she suddenly realized that what she said was a bit loud. Actually, at this time, the commander spoke. However, Long Chen didn't give him a chance to speak and interrupted him directly. I have already said, I will make a decision when the army from the General Academy arrives, and I can't give you an answer now. Well, everyone has come from afar and worked hard all the way. Our branch is located in a remote area, but the scenery is still good. In a short while, Yezwa will take you to inspect our Fengshanhai pavilion and feel our enthusiasm. Yezwa has worked hard for you. After Long Chen finished speaking, he left with Yu Zifeng and Tang Weiner, ignoring Yi Lingkong who was in a daze. Long Chen threw this group of people to Yi Lingkong. On Yi Lingkong's face, he barely squeezed out a smile that was uglier than crying, so he could only accept them bravely. The three of Long Chen left the hall and walked all the way. Yu Zifeng couldn't help but said, 30 million, this number is very scary. You must know that these disciples are very powerful, and if the power of qi and blood recovers, they will be even stronger. And such a powerful disciple turned out to be the bottom one. just as Yu Zifeng said, it was too scary. Can it be scary? Even the Chaos Dragon Emperor's Emperor Dao Nilin is in it, and all the major forces will definitely come out and fight desperately. Moreover, according to the tone of Feng Xinyue and Chaos Dragon Emperor, the treasures inside are more than just fragments of the divine sword and dragon scales. These two things alone have already caused Long Chen and Yu Zifeng to fight for them at all costs, and I believe others will do the same. They must be determined to get the treasures inside. The strange thing is, Master never told me about the matter of the General Court, which is too exaggerated. Tang Weiner has not recovered from the shock yet, so why did the General Court suddenly appear? Moreover, according to the tone of the other party, the strength of the Zong Pavilion is tens of millions of times stronger than that of the Fengshanhai Pavilion. Is there a possibility that the Fengshanhai Pavilion is just used to deceive people and deliberately show weakness to the enemy, and the main pavilion is the real Fengshanhai Pavilion? Now that the time is ripe, they no longer worry about exposing their strength? Long Chen asked. It's really possible. Tang Weiner was startled. I found that neither my master nor Yi Zhuoshe, nor the mysterious pavilion master, seemed to care much about Fengshanhai Pavilion, and they seemed to be indifferent. After Long Chen reminded her, Tang Weiner also noticed that something was wrong. It seemed that everything was just as Long Chen said. Fengshanhai Pavilion showed weakness to the enemy. Could it be to cover up the real Fengshanhai Pavilion? These things have nothing to do with us. Weiner, go and gather the Hidden Dragon Legion. Long Chen said. What? Any action? Tang Weiner was taken aback. What are you doing? Zifeng is here. Are you going to just let him go? Long Chen blinked and said. Tang Weiner suddenly realized, and left like a gust of wind. Yu Zifeng smiled bitterly. He already understood Long Chen's intentions. Long Chen patted Yu Zifeng's shoulder and said, Let's go, there are many of them. They are all your future brothers and daughters-in-law. Don't be stingy, teach more. Talking, the two went straight to Yinlong Island. Chapter 55-27, Chi Chi Chi. Sword Chi soared into the sky, tearing apart the sky, and above the void, black threads emerged, all of which were space cracks. The hidden dragon warriors held long swords, slashing fiercely one after another, and the sword energy shot out, forming a boundless wave of swords, with an astonishing momentum. Yu Zifeng stood at the front of the team. The faces of the hidden dragon warriors were full of excitement, but his face was indifferent and serious. Under Yu Zifeng's guidance, the Yinlong warriors practiced to stimulate sword energy. Originally, it was just a piece of cake for them to activate sword energy. But in front of Yu Zifeng, the sword energy they inspired was not sword energy at all. To put it bluntly, it was similar to tone. When Yu Zifeng said such hurtful words, the faces of the Yinlong warriors changed. Under the leadership of Long Chen, they had stepped into the ranks of real masters. They are brave and fearless, and the fighting in the Seven Treasures space has completely reborn them. They have their own glory and pride. They are using blood and fire to forge the name of the Yinlong Legion. They had heard about the Dragon Blood Legion for a long time, and they knew how powerful the Dragon Blood Legion was. They were also full of respect and admiration for the Dragon Blood Legion. Yu Zifeng's sword in front of the Fengshanhai gate surprised them. Hearts of admiration spontaneously arose, but Yu Zifeng's words deeply hurt their hearts. However, they were kind-hearted. Even if they were stung, they did not refute, let alone speak ill, but just listened quietly. However, when Yu Zifeng showed them a way to stimulate sword energy, it was a way they had never seen before, which completely shocked them. Compared with the method taught by Long Chen, their method seems so naive, but when they are under the guidance of Yu Zifeng, they can split the void with a light sword, watching the crack in the space, and the sound of cracking brocade coming from their ears. Their voices made them extremely excited. This fellow Yu Zifeng has such a disgusted look on his face. He really doesn't give him any face. On the mountain peak in the distance, Tang Weiner and Long Chen sat side by side, each eating fruit, looking at the hidden dragon warrior in the square in the distance. Tang Weiner curled her lips and said, It's good if he can teach them patiently. If it wasn't for the sake of the brothers, Yu Zifeng wouldn't teach them even if he was killed. Long Chen said with a wry smile. Yu Zifeng is a peerless genius in the way of swordsmanship. Long Chen has fought all the way from the mortal world to the fairy world. In the way of swordsman, Long Chen has never seen an existence that can stand shoulder to shoulder with Yu Zifeng. The more genius he is, the more he can't tolerate other people's stupidity. From Yu Zifeng's expression, Long Chen finally understands why the sword gods ruled the world back then, but they didn't establish a sect. Suddenly, Tang Weiner leaned against Long Chen. A smirk appeared on her pretty face. Tell me, is it possible for these sisters of mine to tempt him? Without even thinking about it, Long Chen shook his head and said, absolutely impossible. So sure. Tang Weiner was taken aback for a moment, then looked at Long Chen, her eyes rolled wildly and said, he doesn't like women, does he? Don't talk nonsense. If you don't like women, do you like men? Hold the grass. Long Chen realized that this girl is so dirty. Tang Weiner saw Long Chen's face was serious. She hurriedly smiled and said, I was joking. Why did I take it seriously? By the way, didn't you say that he and a woman, what's their name, Mu? Yes, Mu Qingyun, are you very close to her? Tell me, is there any hope for the two of them? Mentioning this matter, Tang Weiner's eyes lit up. Obviously, women are far more curious than men. Mentioning Mu Qingyun, Long Chen couldn't help but sighed and said, at the beginning I intended to match them up. Mu Qingyun is also a swordsman genius. Let Yu Zifeng take her. Originally thought that the two could develop into a couple, but now they are more like mentors and apprentices. Originally, Mu Qingyun still had a crush on Yu Zifeng, but now, both of them are obsessed with swordsmanship, and they only have the sword in their hearts and nothing else. Thinking that the two of them had come to this point, Long Chen also smiled wryly. Sword cultivators are all paranoid. The more profound their understanding of the way of the sword, the less interested they are in the relationship between men and women. Pitiful, Tang Weiner couldn't help but said, but she didn't know whether she said this to Yu Zifeng or Mu Qingyun. He, tell me, when you went to Longyu this time, you talked to that Bai Shishir. Well, what did you talk about? Tang Weiner tentatively asked. She wanted to pretend to ask casually, but the more she pretended, the more you pretend not to look like it. I didn't even have time to say a word, so I came back. Long Chen sighed. Thinking of Bai Shishi's affectionate eyes, Long Chen was ashamed for a while. The beauty is deeply affectionate, but he can't treat each other with tenderness. I did not mean. Seeing Long Chen's appearance, Tang Weiner lowered her head and said, actually, I'm not jealous. I just want to ask you about this sister. After all, we will get along together in the future. I want to know more about her personality, so that it will be easier to get along with her in the future. Hearing Tang Weiner's gentle tone, Long Chen couldn't help being moved. For Tang Weiner to say such a thing, it was already a huge concession for her. Long Chen took Tang Weiner's hand and said softly, actually, you are all good people, and I am the only bad person. Long Chen pulled Tang Weiner, and Meng Qi suddenly appeared in his mind. It was Meng Qi who comforted Tang Weiner at the beginning, but what was Meng Qi's mood at that time? Long Chen suddenly felt that he was a bastard, a heinous bastard, but there was nothing he could do. Boom! Just when Long Chen and Tang Weiner were fighting each other, suddenly there was a loud noise. Yu Zifeng slashed down with a sword, and a burst of sword energy shot out, cutting a high mountain in the distance into two pieces. The incision was as smooth as a mirror, and the upper part of the mountain slowly slid down, making roaring and explosive noises. The scene was extremely terrifying. Is this the anger of a single dog? Tang Weiner covered her mouth and snickered. Long Chen was speechless for a while. When did this little girl learn so badly? But seeing that she didn't fall into emotional fluctuations because of Bai Shishir, it meant that she really accepted Bai Shishir, so Long Chen was relieved. Yu Zifeng slashed down the mountain with his sword, in fact teaching Yinlong warriors to arouse more advanced sword energy. Teach them how to let the sword qi reach far, offset the consumption of the sword qi by space, without losing its power. This sword qi made the hidden dragon warriors scream with excitement. This sword is so handsome that no one can block its temptation. Time passed quickly. 7 days later, Yu Zifeng found Long Chen. Boss, I really tried my best. I'm too stupid, I can't teach. Please forgive me. Long Chen was speechless for a while. You are too direct. Didn't you see that Tang Weiner was still by your side? You say her sister is stupid, can she be happy? However, when Long Chen didn't know what to say to ease the embarrassment, Xiaoye walked in. Brother Long Chen, there is a woman who claims to be your confidant. Do you want to see her? After Xiaoye finished speaking, Long Chen suddenly felt two eyes like sharp swords looking at him from behind, which made his neck feel a little chilly. Chapter 55-28 Feng Fei. When he saw the person who claimed to be his confidant, Long Chen's eyes widened. The woman was tall, with beautiful eyes and a smile, and she was looking at him jokingly. Who was it but Feng Fei? What? You're doing well. Seeing old friends from the past, are you hesitant to recognize each other? Feng Fei looked at Long Chen and pursed her lips into a smile. Fairy Feng Fei, don't make trouble. I'm miserable now. If I don't have a daughter-in-law to take me in, I'm almost begging for food. Seeing Feng Fei, Long Chen couldn't help laughing. Feng Fei's arrival made him very surprised, but also very happy. When he met Feng Fei in Tianyuan World, he felt an inexplicable sense of intimacy. However, you are bad enough. Long Chen complained. This guy, knowing that this is Tang Weiner's territory, still claims to be Long Chen's confidant. This is clearly a murderer. Feng Fei smiled and said, If you don't say that, I'm afraid that others will not pay attention to me. After all, you Long Chen is a big shot everywhere. How can anyone see it? Fairy Feng Fei, don't make trouble. If I knew you were coming, I would have lined up to greet you at the door. Come inside. Long Chen said, and hurriedly made a gesture of invitation. Long Chen couldn't help but look behind Feng Fei. Feng Fei understood. She smiled and said, I came here by myself. The world of Tianyuan is not peaceful. Are you not afraid of danger if you come out alone? Long Chen couldn't help but asked. Although Feng Fei is powerful, the world of Tianyuan is extremely dangerous. She is alone, and it is indeed very dangerous. What are you afraid of? If I encounter danger, who would dare to do anything to me if I mention Long Chen's name? Feng Fei said proudly. You pull it down quickly. It's okay not to mention me, but it's even more dangerous to mention me. Long Chen smiled wryly. Long Chen, has no reputation at all in the Tianyuan world, even if he has a bad reputation, mentioning his name, unless he is impatient to live. When a friend came, Long Chen was very happy, and Feng Fei also smiled like a flower, talking and laughing with Long Chen all the way to the hidden dragon hall. My sister came from a long way, and it's been a hard journey. My younger sister has just prepared tea, but I can't meet you from afar. Please don't be offended. Sister, please sit down. Tang Weiner was wearing a plain dress at this time, like a virtuous wife, greeting Feng Fei affectionately. Seeing Tang Weiner's appearance, Feng Fei immediately felt flattered. Even Long Chen was greatly surprised. It's really rude for my younger sister to come here. However, since I have important matters to attend to, please forgive me for any inappropriate words. Feng Fei said hastily. Sister, please be polite. We are all Tianwis old friends, we have the same origin, we are all from our own family, so don't see outsiders. The younger sister is not good at words, so let Long Chen talk to her elder sister here, and the younger sister will prepare some snacks. Tang Weiner said. Sister, you're welcome. Feng Fei hurriedly said. Yes, yes. After Tang Weiner finished speaking, she left with a smile. After Tang Weiner left, Long Chen and Feng Fei were left in the hall. After the two were seated as guests of honor, Long Chen poured tea for Feng Fei. Feng Fei couldn't help but say Frowny Face currently used, the app with the most complete and best audio for listening to books, integrated with 4 major speech synthesis engines, over 100 kinds of timbers, and an artifact that supports offline reading Huanyuan app. ComSource app, you bastard, what kind of magic did you use? Turn the rebellious Tang Weiner into this? Not to mention that Feng Fei was strange, even Long Chen was also surprised that Tang Weiner's sudden appearance caught him by surprise. Long Chen gently pushed the teacup in front of Feng Fei, and said proudly, Where can my daughter-in-law of Long Chen be so bad? No matter how powerful a woman is in front of me, I have to hold it for me. The tiger has to lie down for me. Cut, just blow it. Feng Fei gave Long Chen a white look. Long Chen found that Tang Weiner, a girl, seemed to have grown up suddenly. After Long Chen saw Feng Fei, he invited her into the hall. She actually understood the intention. It stands to reason that the other party is a person, and usually one would not meet a guest in such a solemn place. Long Chen brought Feng Fei here on the one hand, to show respect for her, and on the other hand, he also said that the two of them were discussing business matters, not personal matters. Tang Weiner appeared in plain attire. This was a self-proclaimed lady with polite words. In fact, this was also a response to Long Chen. Long Chen suddenly discovered that Tang Weiner had grown up and was no longer that pure little jealous jar. After the two of them said a few polite words, Feng Fei directly got to the point. Long Chen, you haven't gone to Long's house yet, have you? The Long family in Tianyuan world? Long Chen was taken aback. Immediately, Long Chen thought that Feng Fei's appearance here meant that the power of the Jiang family was also here. Since the Jiang family was here, the other four families should also be there. Before the Feng Yu battlefield, Long Chen had beheaded the Tianjiao of the Yi family. Now that Feng Fei also appeared, Long Chen realized that the Long family might not be far from him. Seeing Long Chen's expression, Feng Fei immediately understood. She nodded and said, "You haven't contacted the Long family yet, so you'd better not contact them for the time being." But Long Chen was taken aback. Feng Fei said, "A few months ago, your father entered Long's house, entered the sleeping demon tower privately, and released Ling Long Gorfiend. That exquisite blood demon is a demon species from the era of chaos. It is extremely ferocious. It is rumored that it possesses the purest blood of chaos demons and is immortal. Therefore, it was imprisoned by the Long family in the trapped demon tower. Your father released it directly. He didn't know what method he used, but he let it recognize the master. They smashed the demon trapping tower, and just like that, they broke out of the Long family and disappeared from sight." Long Chen was stunned when he heard that. "What is Daddy doing? The Long family is furious and is looking for your father everywhere. If they know that you are here, they will definitely attack you." Feng Fei said with a serious face. "Why do you shoot at me? Come to me when you can't find my father? Then use me to threaten my father? Hee, if they think I'm easy to bully, then let them do it." A sneer appeared on Long Chen's face. Although he doesn't know why his father did this, he believes that his father must have his reasons. No matter what his father does, his son must fully support him. If they want to settle the blame on him, Long Chen doesn't mind to settle with them one time. Anyway, from the mortal world to the fairy world, the Long family that Long Chen came into contact with never left him any good impression. However, you really have to be careful this time. I came to Tianyuan Jiang's house, won the favor of the ancestor, entered the high level, and learned some secrets of the four great gods. The four major protoss have begun to awaken the sealed Tianjiao, and among these Tianjiao, many are so powerful that they are beyond my imagination, and have even made me despair of practicing." Speaking of this, Feng Yu's eyes were full of shock. Obviously, until now, she still couldn't get out of that shock. She always thought that Long Chen was the most shining protagonist in the world. However, seeing those monsters, her confidence was shaken and she had to come to remind Long Chen dust. Especially you have to be careful of one person, his name is Long Zhe. Feng Fei said every word authentically, and when mentioning Long Zhe's name, her voice began to tremble a little. Chapter 55-29. Another dragon is in the wild. Hearing this name, a mocking smile appeared on Long Chen's face. "You must not be fooled by this name." Seeing Long Chen's expression, Feng Fei hurriedly said. Long Chen said, "Long Zai, named after Zhan Long Zai, there is Zhan Long clan in the Dragon clan, they are a branch of Emperor Dragon, they are the bravest fighters of the D-Dragon clan, and also the most loyal guards of the D-Dragon clan. In the Long family, it seems that there are many people with this name, at least I have met a few." Feng Fei said with a serious face, "This time you are wrong. The reason why the Long family likes to name Long Zhe is because of this Long Zhe. They hope that their children can get a little bit of his luck and become a character like him. Oh? Long Chen was taken aback. A month ago, I followed the Jiang family's senior management to visit the Long family, and I was lucky enough to see Long Zhe at that time. However, just this one glance almost made my Dao heart collapse and my will collapse. I have never seen such a person. Looking at him will make people feel hopeless, and thus lose confidence and courage in martial arts. He is like a big mountain, covering the sky, and that kind of oppressive feeling will make people despair. Speaking of this, Feng Fei's voice trembled with fear in her eyes. At that time we were watching through a space barrier, and he hadn't opened his eyes yet, but this one glance almost ruined my future. Seeing the color of fear in Feng Fei's eyes, Long Chen couldn't help but his heart beat wildly. Feng Fei is also a person who has seen the world, so Long Chen can't imagine how strong this dragon is in the wild. Feng Fei took a sip of tea, waited for her mood to stabilize, and continued. This dragon is a famous existence in the history of the Long family. It is said that in the era of chaos, he killed 17 powerful descendants of the 9 stars. Snapped. Long Chen was holding a teacup. Hearing this, the teacup in Long Chen's hand was crushed instantly. Long Chen's eyes were suddenly cold. Feng Fei pretended not to see Long Chen's movements. She continued. At that time, the descendants of the 9 stars were all known as invincible existences of the same level, and he killed the descendants of the 9 stars continuously, which caused a sensation in the whole world at that time. At that time, the Lord of the 9 stars had already fallen, and the descendants of the 9 stars were being hunted down, but the descendants of the 9 stars were notoriously tough. Usually, if they wanted to kill the descendants of the 9 stars, they would use human lives to pile them up. It can be said that it is extremely rare for someone like Long Zhe to single out the descendant of the 9 stars and kill the opponent 17 times in a row. However, at that time, because of the Chaos War, the world was smashed to pieces, the laws were already incomplete, and the great luck was gone. In order to wait for the best opportunity, Long Zhe chose to seal it. In fact, at that time, countless arrogances chose to seal it because the environment at that time was not suitable for condensing Tianmai dragon energy. On the one hand, the heaven and the earth have been incomplete, and the luck has declined, so it is difficult to condense the perfect Tianmai dragon qi. Even with the condensed dragon energy of Tianmai, the heaven and the earth cannot support so many emperors, which is why there are so many seals in the 9 heavens world. Everyone is waiting for the vitality of the 9 days and 10 places to recover, waiting for the great luck of the world to come, just like fish and shrimp trapped in the shallows, waiting for the sea to rise. Now, even Long Zhe has been awakened, which means that the monsters of that era will wake up one after another, and the whole world will change. Long Chen was not interested in anything else, but when he heard that Long Zhe had killed the descendants of the 9 stars, Long Chen's killing intent rose instantly. Suddenly, he seemed to understand why his father released Ling Long Gorfiend as soon as he arrived at the Long family. It seemed that his father had known for a long time that he and the Long family were mortal enemies, so he had no taboos. Dragon being in the wild is a symbol of the strongest arrogance of the Long family. Therefore, there are countless dragons living in the Long family, but those dragons being in the wild and this dragon being in the wild are not the same concept at all. You must not be deceived. Feng Fei looking at Long Chen, he reminded him solemnly. Long Chen nodded. He was able to kill the descendant of the 9 stars one-on-one, and he was also the descendant of the 9 stars in the era of chaos. This dragon is absolutely terrifying in the wild. However, no matter how strong he has killed the descendants of the 9 stars, so they are immortal enemies. And Long Zhe recovers, he will become the leader of the Long family, and the entire Long family will also become his sworn enemy. Thank you Fairy Feng Fei for reminding me, I will be careful. Long Chen said. Feng Fei kindly came to remind, this love, Long Chen essentials. I came here this time, on the one hand, to remind you to be careful that the Long family will come to seek revenge on you, and on the other hand, to tell you that the 4 great god races will all enter the Tianmai profound realm, and there is a treasure inside, which the 4 great god races are determined to obtain. That is, the Jiuli God Monument. Jiuli Divine Monument? What is that? Long Chen asked. The Jiuli God stele is engraved with the first generation of Jiuli God's pattern. It is said that it is not a thing of the 9 heavens, but came from outside the sky. It was acquired by the Lord of the 9 stars and created the 9 stars. The divine stele was shattered in the battle of chaos, but a broken corner remained in the Tianmai profound realm. This dilapidated stele is said to have recorded the secret of the 9 heavens. If someone can crack it, they will have a chance to become the second 9-star lord. Feng Fei said, "The second 9-star lord?" Long Chen couldn't help but gasp when he heard that. That's just a legend. It is rumored that the Lord of the 9 stars has obtained the complete divine tablet. Now, the divine tablet has been shattered and the inscriptions have been damaged. Even if you get all of them, it will no longer be the divine tablet it used to be. However, on the divine stele in the Tianmai Xian realm, there is the first generation of Jiuli immortal glyph on it, which is the original script from beyond the sky. It's a pity that the fairy writing on the stele cannot be recorded on paper and pen, and cannot be passed on orally. In history, some people of the Protoss have realized a stroke, and they have made great breakthroughs and made amazing achievements. This time, the 4 major god races gathered all their forces, and the goal was to bring the Jiuli divine stele out of the Tianmai Xian realm. Feng Fei said, "Do you need my help?" Long Chen asked. Feng Fei looked at Long Chen and said, "I came here this time just to tell you that the goal of the 4 great Protoss is the Jiuli divine monument. You try to avoid them as much as possible." Looking at Feng Fei's sincere eyes, Long Chen's heart trembled. Feng Fei seemed to be really scared by Long Zhe. She thought that Long Chen was definitely not Long Zhe's opponent, and she didn't want him to die. Long Chen was a little moved. This time, Feng Fei came here without any purpose of trading. She just wanted to keep Long Chen alive, and she didn't think about getting any benefits from him. Feng Fei made friends with him before, more or less with a purpose, and what she valued was his potential. But this time, she saw the terrifying Long Zhe and lost confidence in Long Chen, but she didn't treat Long Chen as a discarded pawn, but took the risk and came all the way to report to him. "Fairy Feng Fei, I will remember Long Chen," Long Chen said solemnly. Feng Fei looked at Long Chen with a smile on her face. "I don't need you to remember my favor, I just hope you are well, okay? I have to go back quickly, you have to take care of yourself." Even though Long Chen asked her to stay, Feng Fei still left. When Feng Fei left, Tang Weiner and Long Chen watched Feng Fei leave. "The dragon is in the wild, right? Wait for me." Chapter 55-30. After sending Feng Fei away, Long Chen felt a little uncomfortable, even a little disappointed. From the mortal world to the fairy world, from enemy to friend, Feng Fei has always been his admirer. However, today, the performance of this admirer suddenly stopped adoring him, but began to feel pity for him. Even Long Chen would feel uncomfortable with this kind of gap. Feng Fei came to report to Long Chen, but she only mentioned the Jiuli divine stele and Long Zhe, and didn't mention a word about the top experts of the Jiang family, Yi family, and Zhao family. It's not that she deliberately concealed it, but she didn't think it was necessary to mention it, because she felt that one dragon in the wild was enough to kill Long Chen, so there would be no point in having a few more strong men like him. Although he knew that Feng Fei had good intentions, Long Chen still felt a little uncomfortable in his heart, but this also completely inspired Long Chen's fighting spirit. "Hey, it seems that this time, it's finally time to kill," Long Gu Xie said excitedly. After the bloody battle in Longyu, absorbing countless blood souls, the evil aura of Dragon Bone Evil Moon became more and more intense, and the runes on his body became brighter and brighter. "Brother Long Chen, Linger can help you too, I have completely controlled this body now." Suddenly, Yao Linger's voice came from Long Chen's soul space. It has been a long time since Yao Linger settled in Yaoyue Cauldron, the imitation of Qiankuan Cauldron. She has been practicing hard under the teaching of Qiankuan Cauldron, and she dare not relax in the slightest. Now, she has completely mastered the Yaoyue Cauldron. Although it is exactly the same as the Qiankuan Cauldron, its breath is completely different. The aura of the Qiankuan Cauldron is sacred and majestic, but the aura of the Yaoyue cauldron is eerie and cold, with a fierce murderous aura. Brother Longchen, I have mastered the 39 killing runes of the Yaoyue Ding, and I can fight side by side with my brother. Yao Linger said excitedly. Long Chen came to the soul space, looked at the flashing runes on the Yaoyue cauldron, and felt its fierce murderous aura. Long Chen couldn't help his heart beating wildly. When he obtained this former fake, he just wanted to give Yao Linger a place to live, and at most let her refine some demon pills for him in the future. Unexpectedly, with the help of the Qiankuan Ding, she actually lit up the 39 runes on the Yaoyue Ding. At this time, Long Chen finally saw that the Yaoyue cauldron looked exactly the same as the Qiankuan cauldron, but some of the runes were different. These runes illuminated by the Yaoyue cauldron are not found on the Qiankuan cauldron. Long Chen touched the Yaoyue cauldron and felt its vast and boundless power. Long Chen suddenly understood that the Yaoyue cauldron had been infused with a lot of original power by the Qiankuan cauldron, otherwise, it would not have such a terrifying aura at all. Qiankuan Ding, because he couldn't help Long Chen kill people many times, he felt guilty, so, during this period of time, he quietly did this big thing. Maybe he has been despised by Dragon Bone Shiyue. Qiankuan Ding also wants to use Yaoyue Ding. Come and fight for yourself. You must know that the original power of the Qiankuan Ding is very precious, especially in the early days. Looking at the Yaoyue Ding, Long Chen couldn't help being moved. Although the Yaoyue cauldron is a fake, the runes are real. Although the caster is powerful, some runes are cast incorrectly, so they only have the shape but not the spirit. Therefore, most of the runes are useless, and there are only so many killing runes that I can activate. The killing runes belong to the dry cauldron, although there are only 39 pieces, but because of the special material of the Yaoyue cauldron, after these runes are activated, it will grow with your killing and become stronger and stronger. Qiankuan Ding said, "Senior, you have worked hard." Long Chen sincerely thanked him. "I can't help you kill the enemy, and I can only help you in this way. Moreover, you have the Yaoyue cauldron, it will be more convenient to switch in the future." Qiankuan cauldron said. Long Chen nodded. With the Yaoyue cauldron, there will be no taboos about using the Qiankuan cauldron in the future. At present, there is only Yinfa Kong who has confirmed the identity of Qiankunding, but he is dead, and this secret has disappeared with his death. In the future, the Qiankuan cauldron and the Yaoyue cauldron will be used together. No one will be able to figure out whether it is true or not, and it will be more confusing. As long as Long Chen creates a fake Qiankuan cauldron, he can do whatever he wants. You must not underestimate the Yaoyue cauldron. When the rune grows, its power will surprise you. Qiankuan cauldron said. Long Chen thanked Qiankuan cauldron again, and Yao Linger was very excited. After so long of boring practice, he could finally fight side by side with Long Chen. In order for Long Chen to better control the Yaoyue cauldron, the Qiankuan cauldron taught Long Chen a set of unique mental methods to activate the Yaoyue cauldron. When Long Chen began to try to activate the Yaoyue cauldron, Long Chen realized how terrifying this Yaoyue cauldron was. Each of its divine lines can trigger a terrifying ultimate move, which is enough to easily kill the king of killers. The most frightening thing is that these runes can be combined to form a more powerful magic spell. The more runes that are driven, the stronger the ultimate move will be. The most important thing is that driving it only requires the cooperation of Yao Linger, and it doesn't cost him any effort at all. What shocked Long Chen the most was that the energy consumed by the Yaoyue cauldron could be replenished through killing. That is to say, as long as there are enough enemies, it can keep killing until it kills all the enemies. Senior, these runes. Long Chen couldn't help but said. The Qiankuan cauldron seemed to have known Long Chen's thoughts for a long time. It said, "These runes come from the Qiankuan cauldron. I can only activate it, but not refine it. I once taught you the power of Kuan. That's because I am Kuan Ding. If you want to master the power of Qian, you need to find Qian Ding." Long Chen suddenly had a bold idea before, that is to refine these runes and integrate them into the blood. Wouldn't that be an extra set of terrifying blood magic powers? At the beginning, Kuan Ding taught him the power of Kuan, but now the power of Kuan has completely integrated into his body, blood, bones, and even soul. The benefits are huge, so he wants to absorb these runes in the same way. My power belongs to Yin, which is the power of life, while Qianding belongs to Yang, which is the power of death. Our powers are completely different, so I can only do this. However, when you can control the Yaoyue cauldron well, I think you will be able to sense it soon. Qian Ding said. Senior, I don't know one thing. It is rumored that the two cauldrons of Qian and Kuan are originally one. How did you separate them? Long Chen finally couldn't help but ask. Qian Kunding didn't answer, but Longu Shiyue couldn't help but said, What do you see me doing? Nothing. After Qian Kunding finished speaking, the divine light flickered, and then disappeared from the chaotic space and returned to the soul space. Long Chen's heart trembled violently, a flash of inspiration flashed in his mind, as if he had thought of something, but at this moment, Tang Weiner found Long Chen. All the people from the Zonga Pavilion are here. Chapter 55-31. When Tang Weiner was looking for Long Chen, her expression was a little unsightly, nervous and angry. Tang Weiner was a person with no intentions. Long Chen could understand what was going on just by looking at her. Before, the so-called leader brought a few ordinary sealers here, and his tail was going up to the sky. Now, with the army of the General Academy coming, there are 30 million sealers in ancient times, not to mention the number of modern Tianjiao. Such a large group of people, when they came to Fengshanhai Pavilion, they must be dragged like the Emperor's inspection, and they must be picky about all kinds of eggs, looking for trouble for nothing, and deliberately embarrassing them. Before, Long Chen told Tang Weiner that this matter should be left to him, but Tang Weiner wanted Long Chen to have enough time to rest, and also tried to help Long Chen deal with some unimportant things. After all, this matter should have been picked by her master. Her master left the mess to Long Chen. As an apprentice, she had to contribute a little bit. Today, when the strong men from the General Academy arrived, she just wanted to come out and receive them in time, settle them down, and then let Long Chen come to meet them. As a result, the commander, who was quite cooperative before, when the general courtyard came, immediately turned his face and refused to recognize him. All kinds of ridicule and sarcasm made Tang Weiner's nose crooked. Moreover, this commander also said a lot of bad things about Long Chen, and bluntly said that Feng Shenhage had a tendency to rebel. Tang Weiner almost ran away on the spot. In the end, she chose to leave because she was afraid that if she stayed any longer, she would kill someone on the spot. Damn it, make my wife so angry. If they don't beat their heads into dogs' heads, they won't know who Third Master Long is. Seeing Tang Weiner's angry look, Long Chen felt distressed and funny at the same time. Express your opinion hastily. Long Chen, it really doesn't work. Let's ask Master for instructions. There are too many of them and they are too strong. I don't think we can control the situation. Tang Weiner said worriedly. Yi Lingkong's people who accompanied the Zong Pavilion that day chose a place that they felt was quite satisfactory, and they came to entertain the strong men from the Zong Pavilion, and then Yi Lingkong ran away. At that time, Yi Lingkong gave the commander an identity jade badge, allowing him to mobilize the power in Fengshanhai Pavilion at will to make final decorations. In fact, there is nothing wrong with Yi Lingkong doing this. Don't you like to put on airs? Then I will give you the power, and you can toss about it as you like, so that no matter how hard we try, you will have to find faults when the time comes. However, what Yi Lingkong didn't expect was that the commander didn't do anything after Yi Lingkong ran away, let alone make arrangements. As soon as the people from the main pavilion arrived, he directly took off his big hat, saying that the branch pavilions looked down on them at all and didn't bother to talk to them. He also said that when they came here, they were full of anger, but in other people's territory, they could only swallow their anger. As for the powerhouses of the General Academy, when they heard this, they immediately became angry and hurt, and the commander also said that there is a young disciple here named Long Chen who is arrogant and domineering. He said a lot of nasty things. Seeing that the situation was not good, Tang Weiner ran back directly. Although she only saw some strong men from the main courtyard, the terrifying posture still made her tremble with fear. She intends to explain, but she doesn't even know who is the sovereign of the General Academy. Once she comes forward, she will definitely be mobbed and attacked. Therefore, when she came back to look for Long Chen, She wanted to ask Master to take action. This scene was too big, and Long Chen would definitely not be able to suppress it. At the same time, she was also a little angry with her master. How could Long Chen carry such a heavy burden? It's a bit of a bully. There is no need for her old man to do such a small matter. Don't worry, I can handle it. Long Chen smiled slightly. Long Chen, you don't know they. Seeing Long Chen's indifferent appearance, Tang Weiner hurriedly said, afraid that he might not know the depth. No matter what they say, I will do it according to my style. I still don't understand what your master means. Have you forgotten, when you first came to Fengshanhai Pavilion, did your master test you? Long Chen asked. But? Tang Weiner was stunned. You don't understand your master's strength at all. She can throw the burden on us. It shows that she has the bottom of her heart. No matter how we deal with it, she can support us, and even if everything is screwed up, she can probably fix it. Long Chen said. Really? Tang Weiner said with her eyes wide open. Of course it's true. I have a hunch that your master's power is beyond your imagination. Come on, you go and gather the hidden dragon army. I'll call Zifeng. Let's go for a meeting together. These guys who don't know the heights of the world. Soon, the hidden dragon warriors had assembled. When Long Chen saw the hidden dragon warriors again, Long Chen was taken aback. The eyes of the hidden dragon warriors are sharp, like sharp blades, and the aura of the whole person is sharp. Looking at each other, it makes people's souls sting. Under Yu Zifeng's guidance, the hidden dragon warriors have changed tremendously. In this state, people with weak willpower don't even have the courage to fight them. I heard that someone from Zonga came to install X on our site. They are very arrogant. Our mantra is, we like arrogant people, but we don't like people who are more arrogant than us. We need to teach this group of children who haven't grown up a good lesson, let them know what real arrogance is. Let's go. With a wave of Long Chen's hand, the hidden dragon warriors shouted loudly, and the sound shook the sky. After Yu Zifeng's teaching, their strength has been greatly improved. Although Yu Zifeng was always dissatisfied with their progress, they knew how much they had benefited from Yu Zifeng. Now is the best time to prove them. For a while, the morale of the Hidden Dragon Legion is like a rainbow. When they rushed out of Hidden Dragon Island, there was already a dark figure in the distance, pressing over like a dark cloud. Obviously, this was under the instigation of the commander. Someone couldn't help it, and came to trouble Long Chen first. Currently used, the app with the most complete and best audio for listening to books, integrated with 4 major speech synthesis engines, over 100 kinds of timbres, and an artifact that supports offline reading, Huanyuan app. Com Source app, facing countless powerful men, Tang Weiner was a little nervous, and at the same time hated that leader to the bone. He was too bad and hurtful. Hey, that kid, you are Long Chen, right? Come here, give me 3 kowtows, and I will forgive your rude words. A strong man with a height of more than 10 feet and a strong back rushed to the front of the team. After seeing Long Chen, he shouted arrogantly. The man stopped drinking, and immediately made the experts behind him focus on Long Chen. For a moment, their eyes were full of sarcasm and disdain. Dare you say we are trash? Today, I will make you pay for your arrogance. Someone in the crowd sneered. Both sides are running wildly, and no one has the intention of stagnation. Seeing that the teams are about to collide, Long Chen shouted coldly, "Kill!" Long Chen stopped drinking, and Tang Weiner's heart beat wildly. The hidden dragon warriors had drawn their swords out of their sheaths, and the sword energy tore through the void. Puff puff. The rain of blood splattered, screams shook the sky, and countless strong men from the General Academy were beheaded in an instant. Chapter 55-32 The Hidden Dragon Warriors obeyed Long Chen's orders absolutely. If Long Chen asked them to kill them, they would never hold back. The opposite party obviously didn't expect that the Hidden Dragon Warriors were so ruthless that they would kill them as soon as they came up. These people were caught off guard, and countless people were instantly beheaded. Court death. When the Hidden Dragon Warrior hit the killer, a strong man suddenly became furious, and he came out with a sword in hand. This is a sealed strong man with an astonishing aura. However, as soon as he rushed out, he was beheaded by a sword energy. This person underestimated the hidden dragon warrior too much. Are you crazy? Someone yelled in horror and quickly backed away, and the others were also killed by the hidden dragon warrior. They just came over for a while to meet Long Chen, and didn't think about killing people. The hidden dragon warriors shot so fiercely that they frightened them silly. If you don't want to die, get out. With a cold snort, Long Chen didn't stop walking, just leading the hidden dragon legion forward. Tens of thousands of strong men were so frightened that they retreated again and again, spreading out a path, allowing Long Chen and others to pass. Long Chen led the hidden dragon warriors all the way forward, ignoring these people at all, and just walked straight to Fengshan Square. At this time, the huge Fengshan Square had already gathered countless powerful people, and for the first time, the huge square seemed a bit crowded. Kill it, kill it. At this moment, someone rushed into the square covered in blood. When people saw that person, they couldn't help being shocked. What happened? At this moment, an old man with a broad head and a square face looked at the man and shouted loudly, "Pavilion Master Qi." Just as Commander Chu said, the Fengshanhai Pavilion is reversed. We were ordered to find that man named Long Chen, but he actually slaughtered our people. The man yelled in horror. Upon hearing that person's words, the audience was in an uproar. The previous commander said countless bad things about Long Chen, especially how arrogant he was. This group of people still had some disbelief at first. After all, it was just a division of the pavilion. What could support him to be so arrogant in such a tiny place? Now, hearing that Long Chen still dared to kill people, and the ones he killed were the disciples of the General Academy, at that moment, all the strong people in the square were furious. This Long Chen is looking for death. Since he doesn't want to live, let me help him. An ancient strong man shouted angrily. It's outrageous. A small branch cabinet dares to be so arrogant to the main cabinet. What are they not rebelling against? Surround the entire Fengshanhai Pavilion, eradicate the traitors, and kill anyone who has a different heart. In the square, the roar shook the sky. Obviously, Long Chen's behavior completely angered them, and they vowed to kill Long Chen. If you want to kill me, Long Chen, just stand up. At this moment, a cold hum came, resounding through the entire square, and then saw a man in black walking up the square step by step, and the hidden dragon warrior army followed behind Long Chen. Seeing Long Chen's arrival, the commander had a scheming smile on his face, pointed at Long Chen and shouted, "It's him, he is Long Chen, Lord Pavilion Master. You see, this person is cold and aloof, with a hideous face, everything is him." Bewitching words to confuse the crowd, die. Laugh, Yu Zifeng let out a cold snort, drew his long sword out of its sheath, the divine light streaked across the void, and went straight to slash at the commander. Bold, the old man known as the Pavilion Master was startled and angry, waved his big hand, the void collapsed, and grabbed Yu Zifeng's sword energy. Puff, however, to everyone's horror, the Pavilion Master himself made a move, and even caught an empty hole. Blood spattered, the commander's body trembled, and blood immediately overflowed from his neck. What? The Pavilion Master's face changed drastically, and everyone else also looked shocked. The Pavilion Master is a god-level powerhouse with strong qi and blood and strong soul power. Unlike those ancestors in Longyu, it seems that he has not been eroded by the power of time. This is a true god. Huang Danning. The leader was right beside him. Yu Zifeng slashed out with a sword, and everyone could see clearly. However, such a peerless power failed to block Yu Zifeng's sword. Plop! Just when everyone was horrified, the leader separated and fell to the ground. Choke! With a flick of Yu Zifeng's long sword, the sword was sheathed, and the sound of sheathing was like a sledgehammer hitting people's hearts. Severing the law? Or you? The Pavilion Master's face changed drastically, and he shouted sharply. The reason why his expression changed was because he finally realized at this time that Yu Zifeng's sword cut off the shackles of the law of space, deceived his eyes, and affected his judgment and perception. That is to say, the moment Yu Zifeng drew his sword, the time flow rate when the sword energy crossed the void is different. There was no problem with the timing or angle of his shot. The problem was that the moment his hand was about to touch the sword energy, it was affected by the law of time, and the speed slowed down. And just because he was so slow, the long sword escaped his obstruction and beheaded the leader. The law of severing is a level that only a powerhouse of his level is qualified to comprehend. As a powerhouse of the God-Emperor realm, he has been studying it for countless years, but he still can't get it right. Did not touch. And Yu Zifeng's sword already involved the law of time. Although it was only a prototype, it had completely shocked him. Under Long Chen, Yu Zifeng, commander of the 4th Army of the Dragon Blood Legion. Yu Zifeng said loudly with a cold face. When they heard that it was Long Chen's seat, the powerhouses present were all shocked. At the same time, they also saw that he was always standing behind Long Chen. Only then did they understand the relationship between this terrifying sword cultivator and Long Chen. What a big tone. Still sit down. Do you have the throne of God? Are you a god? The pavilion master shouted coldly. Your tone stems from your strength. Your excellency's tone is so loud? Isn't it because of your identity? Why do you have to say it so clearly and take your own humiliation? Yu Zifeng said coldly. Yu Zifeng's answer made Long Chen stunned. When did this guy who doesn't like to argue with each other learn how to hate others? What he said was that the pavilion master had no real strength, and he was just relying on his status as pavilion master. What's so arrogant about it? An ignorant idiot, how dare you disrespect the pavilion master? Do you think you can be arrogant if you have some skills? Come out, let me see if you have the right to be arrogant. At this moment, a person came out. This person is actually 2 feet tall, but like a little giant, his muscles are bulging, and his blood is amazing. He holds a spear in one hand, a shield in the other, and a battle helmet on his head. Every time he took a step, the square trembled. The terrifying coercion made it difficult to breathe. There was a vast energy of chaos on his body, and he looked like a strong man sealed in the era of chaos. The wind pavilion is steady. When the little giant stood up, countless people from the powerhouses in the main courtyard exclaimed and called out his name. Chapter 55-33 The Wind Pavilion is steady. The most famous Tianjiao in the General Academy, the invincible existence in his life, also achieved a great reputation in the era of chaos. As soon as he stood up, some of the powerhouses in the General Academy cheered excitedly. They hoped that Feng Tingwen could kill Long Chen and stand up for the General Academy. Feng Tingwen pointed the spear at Long Chen and shouted loudly, "Stop talking nonsense, come out and fight, let me see if your mouth is as strong as your strength." "Brother Long Chen, let me come." At this time, Xiaoye stood up behind Long Chen. She had short hair and her eyes were full of fighting spirit. Xiaoye was originally a master of masters, and she had extremely high comprehension and astonishing perseverance. After experiencing the Battle of Fengyu, she gained so many inheritances on the battlefield, which made her strength improve by leaps and bounds. Now, after Yu Zifeng's guidance, she has integrated Yu Zifeng's swordsmanship with her own ability, and she has made a breakthrough again. At this time, she also wants to verify her own strength. "I won't fight with a girl, Long Chen. If you don't dare to come out, this battle is over." Seeing Xiaoye stand up, Feng Tingwen said coldly. Obviously, he looked down on Xiaoye. In his eyes, Yu Zifeng was the most feared person, followed by Long Chen. The reason why he challenged Long Chen was because he could see that Long Chen was a strong man of strength, which happened to be what he was best at. Although he was not afraid of Yu Zifeng, he had never met a powerful swordsman in his life, so he did not directly challenge Yu Zifeng. Hearing Feng Ting's wild words, Xiaoye's eyes turned cold, and she was about to speak, but was stopped by Long Chen. Long Chen looked at Feng Tingwen, then at the pavilion master, and said coldly, "To be honest, I'm already tired of your boring fights, and we have no interest in power. The opening of the Tianmai Profound Realm is imminent, but you are wasting your energy here in order to fight for the right to rule. Maybe you are full and have nothing to do, but our time is very precious. We don't have time to spend with you, even if it is a stick of incense time. We need to work hard to improve ourselves. You are wasting our time, which is tantamount to murdering people for money, and I will never show mercy to those who murder people for money. Are you sure you want to continue? Long Chen hated this kind of routine very much. Feng Fei's arrival brought him great pressure. His current target is Long Zhe, not these people in front of him. But there are some things that cannot be avoided, he has to face them, he cannot be merciful, otherwise, this kind of internal friction will only make him exhausted, and precious time is wasted on this kind of struggle, while his enemies are desperately improving. When the time comes, it will be himself and the entire Dragon Blood Legion who will be hated. What nonsense are you talking about? I can't even understand it. Are you scared to speak incoherently? Feng Tingwen obviously didn't understand what Long Chen meant, and sneered. And the pavilion master looked at Long Chen coldly. Noisy, the strong in the world of practice are respected. If you want others to listen to you, you must show your strength. Aren't you pretentious and don't want to obey the arrangement of the General Academy? Then show your skills. Hearing the pavilion master's words, Long Chen's face was gloomy. He couldn't imagine that such a pig brain could become the pavilion master. Stop talking nonsense, come up and fight. Feng Tingwen seemed impatient to wait, and shouted loudly. Stop beeping, come up and fight if you have the guts. That's right, if you don't have any kind, just kneel down and apologize with death. The other powerhouses in the General Academy also became impatient and mocked Long Chen one after another. And at this time, outside the square, the experts from Fengshanhai Pavilion also came. Originally, this place was requisitioned by the General Pavilion, and the disciples of the Fengshanhai Pavilion had to avoid it, and were not even allowed to watch it. They thought it was an offense to them. But when they heard Long Chen's arrival, the experts in Fengshanhai all ran over regardless of whether the other party was happy or not. Seeing Long Chen being humiliated, they were immediately filled with righteous indignation, but they still dared not speak. Long Chen looked at the sneering pavilion master, then at the incomparable Feng Tingwen. His eyes swept over those who were booing. Long Chen took a deep breath and just walked out. Seeing Long Chen come out, those booing voices disappeared immediately, and everyone's eyes turned to Long Chen. Seeing Long Chen walk out, Feng Ting let out a loud cry. The vision behind him stretched open, and a mysterious totem appeared in the blood, and that mysterious totem turned into a giant elephant. As soon as the giant elephant came out, the sky and the earth trembled. The violent energy and blood merged with the force of the wind. At that moment, his coercion erupted like a volcano. The violent power of qi and blood formed a bloody ripple, and everyone in the square couldn't help but backed away. Feng Tingwen let out a roar, stepped forward with one step, and the void under his feet exploded, and the person rushed towards Long Chen like a bolt of lightning, and stabbed at Long Chen fiercely with the light of the spear in his hand. Suddenly, a black lightning appeared, and people saw a black sword appearing in Long Chen's hand, slashing fiercely at Feng Ting's long spear. Boom! With a loud explosion, Feng Tingjian's long spear was abruptly chopped off by the black sword in the people's horrified eyes. Along with it, Feng Tingwen's thick arm was shattered, and in the splash of blood, Feng Tingwen flew out backwards. What? Seeing this scene, the powerhouses in the main pavilion were horrified, and even the pavilion master was shocked. The spear in Feng Tingwen's hand is a divine weapon of the era of chaos. It is made of special material and can combine the power of his blood and wind. It is a magical weapon tailor-made for him. It has amazing power and endless potential. In the end, he was slashed and exploded by Long Chen. The most frightening thing was that Long Chen hadn't summoned the vision, and even the fluctuation of qi and blood didn't appear. Long Chen stepped out and caught up with Feng Tingwen, who was retreating. Qi Shiyue slashed down in the air, and a little white light appeared on the blade of Qi Shiyue, like a grinning demon, slashing down. The wind is invisible, shielding the universe. Feng Tingwen let out a terrified roar, holding the huge shield with only one hand and punching forward. At the same time, all the visions behind him were absorbed by the shield. Boom! Qi Shiyue slashed on the giant shield, and the giant shield exploded in an instant. Feng Ting, who was firmly attached to the shield, was smashed into powder. I finally have a good time, Long Gu Xie laughed, full of vigor and arrogance. Killing Feng Tingwen with 2 knives, Long Chen himself didn't use half of his strength, all relying on the strength of Long Gu Xie himself. Long Chen himself was so shocked that his heart was beating wildly. How powerful was Long Gu Xie? You are so cruel at such a young age, how can I keep you? Just when everyone was shocked, the pavilion master suddenly let out an angry roar. He opened the vision, sacrificed an ancient golden bell, and threw it at Long Chen. As soon as the golden ancient clock came out, Long Chen's back suddenly felt chills. This is a weapon of the God Emperor, and this bastard actually wanted to kill him, and he shot with all his strength, intending to kill him with 1 blow. With a cold snort, Long Chen was about to summon the 8-star battle body to fight with him, but at this moment, snapped, a slender hand slapped the golden ancient clock, and the divine power that could suppress the world disappeared in an instant. Ka ka ka. Then the terrifying ancient clock lost its light, and its whole body was covered with cracks. Boom! With a bang, this terrifying magic weapon was smashed into pieces by that jade hand. At that moment, the audience was dead silent. The void trembled, the divine light was dazzling, and Feng Sinyu's graceful and luxurious figure appeared above the void. Chapter 55-34 Feng Xinyu stood above the void, golden divine splendor scattered in the sky. They were all fragments of the ancient golden clock. With a light palm, the terrifying golden ancient clock was shattered. Everyone was shocked, and even Long Chen was so shocked that his pupils shrank to the size of a needle point. Although Long Chen knew that Feng Xinyu was absolutely powerful beyond his imagination, but Long Chen never thought that she could shatter that terrifying weapon of the God Emperor with 1 palm. The pavilion master was bleeding from the corner of his mouth, his face was pale, and his eyes were full of horror. It was his natal weapon, but was crushed by Feng Sinyu's palm, and his soul and primordial spirit were severely injured. Currently used, the app with the most complete and best audio for listening to books, integrated with 4 major speech synthesis engines, over 100 kinds of timbres, and an artifact that supports offline reading, Huanyuan app. ComSource app, Feng Xinyu appeared on the stage, like a god descending into the world, with a beautiful face and luxurious temperament. People dare not look at her directly, and feel that looking at her is an offense to her. The master of the pavilion looked at Feng Xinyu with a look of horror in his eyes. God. God. His mouth squirmed, and he uttered 2 divine characters, but he never uttered the 3rd word. As a God Emperor, in a high position, seeing the divine weapon in Long Chen's hands, he became greedy and killed him. Are you guilty? Feng Xinyu looked down at the pavilion master and shouted in a cold voice. The pavilion master trembled in fright. He stammered and said, I just want to scare him because he attacked viciously. Fuck your sister, when you looked at me just now, your eyeballs were about to protrude. It's clear that you have something to do with me. Long Gu Xie sneered. Although he was swearing, his tone was full of pride. Obviously, being greedy by this guy made Long Gu Xie very happy. At least, this guy still had some vision. Long Chen was too lazy to listen to his excuses. Long Chen looked at Feng Xinyu, thinking about the divine character that the pavilion master said just now. What should be added after that? That's what he wanted to say, but Long Chen didn't even think about it. The powerhouses from the main pavilion were all stunned. They couldn't imagine who this person was, and how could he scare the pavilion master into such a state? The shot is vicious? You only saw Long Chen killing people with a knife, but you didn't see a kind of knife that killed people without blood. Feng Xinyu said coldly, you, the pavilion master, command so many young disciples, but you didn't point out the way for them. Entering the heavenly vein profound realm in their current state, 99 out of 10 of them would never even think of coming back alive. Feng Sinyu's words shocked all the geniuses present. Fortunately, Feng Xinyu said this sentence. If it was said by others, they would definitely make ridicule. Looking at Feng Xinyu, these proud and arrogant arrogances, I feel awe from the depths of their souls. Her words are imperial edicts and iron laws, and they are not allowed to question. When Long Chen heard this, he was taken aback for a moment, and then suddenly realized that he finally understood why Feng Xinyue hid and asked him to be in charge of reception. Only Feng Xinyue continued, I have eaten too much Taiping food for too long, and even the ability to perceive danger has degenerated. You can't even perceive whether a person's strength is strong or weak, and whether they can bring you a fatal threat. Entering the Tianmai profound realm is like a blind man riding a blind horse, facing a deep pool in the middle of the night. Long Chen's hot hands can only make you feel shocked, but can't awaken your fear. You are so stupid that you are hopelessly stupid. Do you think that Long Chen won't do anything to you in Fengshanhai Pavilion? Even if he is a member of Fengshanhai Pavilion, wouldn't he pose a fatal threat to you? You are in a dangerous situation, but you don't know it. From top to bottom, you are all a bunch of idiots. Feng Sinyu's face was ashen, and she looked at the pavilion master. As the commander, you have sent these disciples into danger with your own hands, and you deserve death. Feng Xinyue waved her hand, but she didn't see her use any strength, and the body of the pavilion master floated into the air involuntarily. The pavilion master was terrified. He wanted to struggle, but he couldn't move. He wanted to beg for mercy, but he couldn't speak. Puff! With Feng Xinyue's hand in hand, the body of the pavilion master exploded, and the blood of the emperor spilled on the sky and the earth, covering the entire square. The bright red blood was scattered all over the world, and everyone could smell the terrifying bloody smell in their noses. In the bloody atmosphere, there was endless fear. At that moment, all the strong men felt their souls tremble and their souls go numb. Did you feel it? The smell of death. Feng Xinyue said coldly. The eyes of the powerhouses present were full of fear. Through the blood of the god emperor of the pavilion master, they felt the despair and unwillingness of the pavilion master when he died. That feeling as if they had died once, that immersive feeling awakened their fear of death. Originally, I wanted to use the blood and lives of those stupid disciples through the hands of Long Chen to awaken your awe of life. But I didn't expect that you are extremely stupid, and the death of your companion can no longer awaken your stupid perception, so let's use the life of your pavilion master to enlighten you. Feng Xinyue said, Before, you said that if you enter the Tianmai profound realm, at least 50% of the people will die in it. But I can tell you that with your arrogance and stupidity, 99 out of 10 people will never come out alive, and it is really possible that the entire army will be wiped out. Listening to Feng Sinyu's words, Tang Weiner understood her intentions at this moment. At that moment, Tang Weiner felt extremely ashamed and blamed herself. She felt that she was too stupid, not even 1% of Long Chen's, and she couldn't understand Feng Sinyu's intentions at all. Feng Xinyue wants to use blood to wash away the arrogance and ignorance of these people. Only in this way can more people survive. As for those who were killed, for Feng Xinyue, even if they didn't die in the hands of Long Chen, they would die in the Tianmai profound realm, and death here was a worthy death. Looking at the look of fear in the eyes of the powerhouses in the main pavilion in the square, it shows that Feng Sinyu's goal has been achieved. By awakening their fear and arousing their awe, they will have more opportunities in the Tianmai profound realm. The Tianmai profound realm is extremely cruel. If you want to survive, you must unite as one, rely on each other, and help each other. The reason why I killed your pavilion master was because he was too stupid. It is at this time, and a commander has not yet been elected among you. At that time, when you enter the Tianmai Xuanyu, you will be like a mess, not to mention those powerful ancient inheritances, even some small forces can eat you up. His stupidity is a knife that kills people without blood, and will ruin all of your lives in the Tianmai profound realm. Feng Xinyue paused for a while and said, I know that there are many people here who are pretentious, so I will give you a chance. Whoever thinks that they are strong enough, wise and brave, stand up and lead the Fengshanhai Pavilion. However, what everyone didn't expect was that after Feng Xinyue finished speaking, her figure disappeared in a flash. The strong people in the audience looked at me and I looked at you, all dumbfounded. That's the end of it? Long Chen was also dumbfounded. Long Chen thought that Feng Xinyue had finally stood up to preside over the overall situation, but he didn't expect that he would take the lead. Long Chen, what should we do? Tang Weiner asked. Let's go, let's take the pick too. Seeing the situation, Long Chen waved his hand and was about to lead everyone away, who wouldn't be lazy. However, just as Long Chen was about to leave, he was surrounded by a group of people. Chapter 55:35 Countless Zonga disciples stopped Long Chen and the others like a tide, and the hidden dragon warriors immediately put their swords in their hands and put on a fighting stance, instantly filling the entire square with a murderous aura. Don't get me wrong, we have no malicious intentions. Someone exclaimed, and hurriedly said that they didn't come to fight. We have no other intentions. We are just a little confused. We don't know what that senior wants to tell us. We also asked Brother Long Chen to give us some advice. A female disciple stood up and said, not to mention they were confused, even Tang Weiner, an apprentice, was dumbfounded and had no idea what kind of medicine was sold in Master's gourd. Senior Brother Long Chen, please be merciful and show us a clear way, please. The female disciple said in a tone almost begging. This female disciple, who is also a strong ancient seal, can speak in such a tone at this time, which shows that she was frightened, and the blood of the emperor awakened their fear of death. Otherwise, with her status, she would never speak in such a tone. Those who surrounded Long Chen all showed horror, obviously wanting Long Chen to explain their confusion. Long Chen hesitated for a moment, then heaved a long sigh and said, forget it, since you all asked, I'll tell you. What that senior meant was that whoever among you feels that he is powerful can lead a group of people to enter the Tianmai profound realm. Of course, many people are very conceited about themselves, so there will be many forces. At that time, whoever can lead people and kill them from the Tianmai Xian realm may become the future king of Fengshan H. Of course, I'm just guessing for reference only. If the guess is wrong, don't blame me. But with so many forces formed, everyone's strength is dispersed, and the overall strength is weakened. Wouldn't they be defeated one by one? Someone asked. That's right, one of the 5 fingers is easy to break, but only when they are clenched into fists, the strength will become stronger. Another disciple said. Currently used, the app with the most complete and best audio for listening to books, integrated with 4 major speech synthesis engines, over 100 kinds of timbres, and an artifact that supports offline reading, Huanyuan app. ComSource app. That's right, but who will hold this fist? Long Chen asked back. This. The group of disciples were suddenly speechless. Damn it, we should have elected a leader a long time ago. Now that we are sharpening our guns, who can convince the crowd? Some disciples couldn't help but cursed. Of course, the damn in his mouth, 9 times out of 10, refers to the Lord Pavilion Master who was killed, but he didn't make it clear. We have countless arrogance here. If we join the wrong team, wouldn't it be like betting on a treasure? If we make a wrong bet, our lives will be gone? Someone said in a trembling voice. This is a big gamble. Once the gamble is lost, it will be beyond redemption. That's your problem. The reason why the strong can become the strong depends on talent, hard work, aptitude, vision, and luck. And luck, sometimes the key to success or failure. I can't give you any advice on this. Long Chen spread his hands and said helplessly, Senior Brother Long Chen, can we join your forces? Someone shouted. Of course, but there is one thing I need to tell you, this is my boss. Join us, and you all have to listen to her in the future. After Long Chen finished speaking, he pulled Tang Weiner out and said seriously. Tang Weiner didn't expect Long Chen to come out like this. Her pretty face flushed immediately, and she wanted to retreat, but Long Chen whispered, Your master deliberately killed that pavilion master to enlighten them. To put it bluntly, she still hopes that more of them will survive. Since you are her disciple, you should bravely shoulder this burden. But Tang Weiner was a little guilty. She felt that her strength would not convince the public, and she would make a mess and live up to master's expectations. But what? Have you forgotten how strong your master is? You silly girl. Long Chen said angrily. When Tang Weiner heard this, she just remembered that her master was the one who could kill the God Emperor with a flick of a finger, and she gained confidence in an instant. Everyone, there are countless arrogance here, and monsters are rampant. You are free to choose whoever you choose, and we are not here to affect everyone's decision. If you want to join our team, come to Hidden Dragon Island to find us." After Long Chen finished speaking, he left with the Hidden Dragon Legion. As soon as the Hidden Dragon Legion left, the powerhouses in the square were stunned. Some people gritted their teeth and didn't want to, just chasing the direction Long Chen left. This is a big gamble, no one dares to bet lightly, but some people have extremely sharp and vicious eyesight, and they saw the specialness of Long Chen and decided to take a risk. In addition, some people are smarter. They find that Long Chen and Yu Zifeng are both super strong, and Feng Xinyue, a terrifying power, is with them. It is definitely better to hang out with them than with others. As a result, as soon as Long Chen and others left, more than half of the strong men in the square rushed out, and the rest were dumbfounded. More than half of the people followed suit, and these people formed dozens of forces? Isn't that courting death? In the end, those arrogances who thought they were extremely powerful also gritted their teeth and followed. Although they were conceited, if they were alone, they wouldn't dare to enter the Tianmai profound realm. What Long Chen didn't expect was that all these people followed, which caught Long Chen by surprise. However, after thinking about it, Long Chen understood. On the one hand, this group of people are not too stupid, and they can see some ways. Another reason is that the pavilion master was killed. They all panicked and didn't know what to do. He listened to someone, and when he saw someone coming, he followed him. He didn't have any opinion at all. Seeing that everyone surrendered to Tang Weiner, Long Chen's head grew a little big, and he didn't have the heart to manage these people. However, at this time, Feng Xinyue's voice came from his ear. "Accept them, although they are a bit stupid, there are many people with outstanding talents and are loyal to Fengshen. In the future, Weiner will be in charge of the entire Fengshen family, and it is inseparable from their support. Moreover, when you enter the Tianmai Xian realm, you have your own missions, and it is impossible to stay together forever. Promoting them is to increase Weiner's cards to save her life." Long Chen's heart trembled wildly. In charge of the Fengshen department? What does that mean? Long Chen was stunned. Could it be? Long Chen had a bold idea. It's useless to think too much. For Weiner, you have to accept them. Besides, the entire Fengshen lineage is Weiner's dowry. You can't lose it, so use it. Feng Xinyue said. The junior understands. Long Chen was full of gratitude. Feng Xinyue said that it was tantamount to telling Long Chen that she, Tang Weiner, and the entire Fengshen family would stand by his side no matter what. If Lingshao Academy is Long Chen's first home, then Fengshen Hage is Long Chen's second home. Thinking of this, Long Chen's spirit was lifted, and he didn't care about the trouble, so he directly summoned all the strong men. I have the Dragon Blood Legion, and the help of Fengshen's lineage, the treasures in the Tianmai Xuanyu. All of you are named Long. Long Chen's heart suddenly rose with great pride, and even his blood became hot. Chapter 55-36 Ah! A scream came from the mouth of Tianjiao of Fengshenhai Pavilion. He sat cross-legged on the square, his eyes were full of horror. This is a monster-level powerhouse, a figure of the same era as Feng Tinguen, who is equally astonishingly talented and full of arrogance. However, at this moment, there was no trace of arrogance in his eyes, only fear. At this time, the Fengshen square was full of people. A glazed tree covered the entire square, and the seven-colored divine splendor surged and enveloped everyone. Puff! Another Tianjiao, spurting blood wildly, gritted his teeth, roared angrily, I don't believe it. Tianjiao made a seal with his hands, attracting the divine radiance of the seven-treasure glazed glass tree to add to his body, but just as he closed his eyes, he suddenly covered his neck and let out a scream. There was no wound on his neck, but Tianjiao seemed as if his neck had just been cut off. His eyes were full of anger and unwillingness. However, this time he stopped being presumptuous and honestly exercised his skills and adjusted his breath to recover his condition. There were screams and roars one after another. In Long Chen's seven-treasure space, no matter how powerful you are, it doesn't make any sense. In less than a stick of incense, everyone died once. Some people were not convinced, because they just entered the Seven Treasures dimension and were killed without even seeing what the enemy looked like. They thought they were careless and unprepared, so they were hit, and then rushed into the chaotic space again, but they were still beheaded. After experiencing the Battle of Wind Field and the Battle of Dragon Field, the Seven Treasure Glaze Tree has become stronger and more powerful. Under the shroud of seven-colored divine brilliance, anyone can borrow its power to enter the Seven Treasure space, and there is no limit to the number of times and time. How did this happen? He looked at me and my soul collapsed. Who the hell is he? A red-haired man roared to the sky. This person is one of the top talents in the main pavilion. Among the 30 million sealed people, if Feng Ting can surely enter the top 100, this person can enter the top 10. These strong men are not only powerful, but also full of wisdom. Therefore, they felt that something was wrong with Feng Shenhage from the very beginning, but they kept silent and observed secretly. The reason why they moved closer to Long Chen was because they saw the relationship between Long Chen and Feng Xinyue, and also saw Feng Xinyue's intentions. However, they are all strong and will not easily convince others. They came here just to find out Long Chen's true strength and see if Long Chen is worthy of their assistance. If they had the chance, they would definitely challenge Long Chen. After all, if they want to occupy a high position, they must have strong strength, otherwise, they will not be able to convince the crowd at all. How could Long Chen not see their thoughts? Straightforwardly, whoever wants to be the king of the new generation of Fengshen lineage, as long as his strength surpasses all the heroes, whoever will do it. However, before doing it, he had to accept a test. This test was the Seven Treasures space. Long Chen also said that the enemies in the Seven Treasures space were all encountered and killed by him. As long as anyone can remain undefeated for an hour in the Seven Treasures space, they will pass the test, and then we will see how many people pass, and then these people will compete again. However, as soon as these pretentious arrogances entered the Seven Treasures space, well, almost none of them could hold on for half a stick of incense, and most of them couldn't even last a single breath, so they were killed. This guy is so unlucky that he bumped into the Underworld Emperor. Yu Zifeng stood beside Long Chen with a sympathetic expression. At this time, Yu Zifeng's face was also a little pale. He had just come out of the Seven Treasures space. In the Seven Treasures space, he fought fiercely with the silver-haired King Kong, but was attacked by other strong men and finally lost. But before he came out, he saw a figure appearing in the endless darkness. That guy was standing in front of that figure. Yu Zifeng took a quick glance and knew that that figure was the Underworld Emperor. What a joke! The Emperor of the Underworld is the supreme existence. If you look at him, you are looking for death. Fortunately, this guy has strong willpower, otherwise he would have died. The Underworld Emperor is also inside? Long Chen was startled. Yu Zifeng nodded and said, "That's right, although it's a vague figure, the aura is definitely not wrong." Long Chen was stunned. The Underworld Emperor was not killed by himself. How could he be captured by the Seven Treasure Glaze Tree? Long Chen pondered for a while, slowly closed his eyes, and rushed into the Seven Treasures space. At this time, in the Seven Treasures space, roars shook the sky, divine light surged, and tens of millions of strong men fought here. But in the chaotic space, there are endless strong people, and the number is countless times more than them. Long Chen saw with his own eyes a short and fat figure, holding a dagger, crazily harvesting heads. That person was Imputa. When Long Chen entered the Seven Treasures space, Imputa saw Long Chen at a glance, and his figure disappeared in an instant. Boom! With a slap of Long Chen's big hand, the void exploded, and Imputa, who was hiding in the void, was slapped and exploded by Long Chen. Imputa has only so many tricks, all of which have been imitated by Qibao Space. For his tricks, Long Chen has already been familiar with them. After all, it was copied, and I don't know how to adapt and improve. This is also the shortboard of Qibao Space. However, there is a terrifying place in the Qibao Space. When Imputa was killed, his realm was not high, but he could follow the practicer's cultivation level, and the tide rose. And all the strong men that Long Chen killed in the Wind Field and Dragon Field were reproduced here. Even the God Emperor level powerhouses were there. Laugh, Suddenly, the sky and the earth trembled, and a sword chi cut through the sky and fell towards Long Chen. The terrifying breath made Long Chen's soul tremble. Ling Tian's lineage? Startled, Long Chen waved his hand and punched it away. Boom! With a bang, half of Long Chen's body was numb from the shock, when Long Chen saw the man's face clearly. Luo Zixu, Long Chen immediately recognized that that person was the same Luo Zixu he met on the chaotic battlefield, and he also appeared in the Seven Treasures space. Have they been there for a long time, but they have been hiding and haven't appeared? Or because the power of the Seven Treasures glaze tree is not enough, they can't be revealed? Recently, because the Seven Treasures glaze tree has grown again, they came out? Long Chen's heart beat wildly. Luo Zixu squeezed the sword formula. The long sword turned into a flying rainbow and slashed at Long Chen. Boom, boom, boom. Long Chen swung his fists continuously to block, and after a few moves, Long Chen punched out, and Luo Zixu burst into pieces. It's a pity. If I knew this earlier, I shouldn't have killed him so quickly. Long Chen looked regretful. This Luo Zixu only used a few tricks back and forth, all of which he used against Long Chen. Although the tricks were sharp and terrifying, but after being caught in a routine, there was no threat to Long Chen. Puff puff. Long Chen galloped back and forth in the Seven Treasures space. The battlefield was extremely chaotic and the light kept flickering. The flickering light either meant that someone had been killed or that someone had entered the Seven Treasures space. Long Chen searched back and forth, but he never saw the figure of Emperor Hades, nor did he see the appearance of Yin-haired King Kong. The silver-haired King Kong was severely injured by Yu Zifeng, and he might have been killed by someone else. At this moment, Long Chen had a feeling in his heart. He dodged suddenly, and a dagger was pasted against Long Chen's cheek. Imputa! Long Chen was taken aback. Before half a stick of incense, Imputa appeared again. According to the past, once a strong man like Imputa was killed, it would take at least 3 days for Qibao Space to copy him again, but now he came out so quickly. Boom! Long Chen kicked Imputa flying. This guy is very powerful. It would be a pity to kill him casually. Let him teach those arrogant guys a lesson. Long Chen came out of the Seven Treasures space, looked at the Seven Treasures glazed tree in the square, and was very excited. He finally touched a trace of its mystery. Long Chen. At this time, Tang Weiner came, but when they saw Tang Weiner, Long Chen and Yu Zifeng were startled, and their eyes were full of disbelief. Chapter 55-37, Weiner, where have you been? Long Chen couldn't help asking. After only seeing Tang Weiner for a day, her demeanor changed, as if she was a different person. At this moment, around Tang Weiner's body, there is a powerful fluctuation of divine power, which is noble and holy, exactly the same as Feng Xinhua. Master just taught me a mental method. I just came back from her. What's wrong? Tang Weiner looked at Long Chen and Yu Zifeng's shocked faces, reached out and touched her face, and found that she hadn't changed much. Spirit! Long Chen was startled. Suddenly a flash of light flashed in his mind, and a look of enlightenment appeared on his face. What's the matter? Tang Weiner was a little speechless. Nothing, nothing. You are extraordinarily beautiful today. The holy light almost blinds our eyes. Long Chen hurriedly said. Nonsense, what did you see? Tang Weiner asked with her eyes wide open. Ahem, let's talk. I'll go to the silver-haired King Kong to discuss it. Yu Zifeng simply avoided it. Tell me, what exactly did you see? Tang Weiner said viciously. What kind of mentality did Master and her old man pass on to you? Long Chen asked back. Master taught me a set of mental methods called the Fengshen Mantra, but the old man only taught me the mental methods, but not the methods. I just condensed the talisman, but I didn't know how to use it, and then I was kicked out by the master. Tang Weiner pouted, a little dissatisfied. She found that now the master often played charades with her. Unlike before, he knew everything and talked endlessly, which made her very uncomfortable. Silly girl, the old man doesn't say it because she can't say it. Some things can only be understood and cannot be conveyed. You need to understand it yourself. Longchen laughed. But people can't understand it. Tang Weiner was ashamed, anxious and annoyed. She felt so stupid. From Longchen's eyes, it can be seen that he must know, but Longchen is also like Feng Xinyue, with a secretive appearance, which makes her a little sad. Silly girl, there are more than 7,000 fighters in the Dragon Blood Legion, and each of them is a master on their own. Can you see that I have taught them things hand in hand? Longchen asked. That's not true. Tang Weiner hesitated and said, at most, I just remind them, to provide them with some inspiration and opportunity. Everything else needs to be understood by themselves. Why not teach them? Because once I teach them, their future path will be fixed by me, from infinite to limited. You see, in the Dragon Blood Legion, everyone has their own direction of development, even Li Qi and Ming Yuan, both of whom are practitioners of the Earth system, but their paths are still different. The soldiers of the medical team are all wood-type practitioners, and each of them has a completely different style. Why is that? Because I never interfere with their practice. It's not that I don't want to teach them, but that I can't. Why can't I teach them? Because I taught them one, and they only learned one. But if this one is not taught by others but realized by themselves, then they can learn everything from what they hear, understand by analogy, have unlimited imagination space, and have unlimited potential. Master and her elders don't teach you. It's also the same principle. Slowly learn to comprehend it. Longchen comforted softly. But I'm so stupid, and I don't like to use my brain. What should I do? Tang Weiner was so anxious that she was about to cry. She felt that she was under a lot of pressure, and she was afraid that she would fail the expectations of her master and Longchen. Silly girl, what is enlightenment? It requires not only hard work, but also timing, both of which are indispensable. Some things, if you think about it with your head alone, even if your head is blown up, you still can't figure it out. But when a certain time, a certain environment, and a certain thing happen, you will have instant enlightenment. The reason why you don't have a clear understanding now is because the time has not yet come. When that time comes, you will naturally understand. Longchen stroked Tang Weiner's hair with a big hand and laughed. Are you sure you're not comforting me? Tang Weiner asked in doubt. Then let's be honest, you say you are as stupid as a pig. Will your master not know? Will she deliberately give you problems? Longchen said. It makes sense, Ba. You are as stupid as a pig. Tang Weiner was so angry that she stretched out her hand to pinch Longchen, but Longchen avoided it with a smile. After Longchen's enlightenment, Tang Weiner immediately relaxed a lot, because what Longchen said was right. Feng Xinyue once told her that as long as she is obedient, the master will naturally pass on the mantle to her. Facts have also proved that there is no need for her to do anything at all. All she needs to do is listen to master's words. It's just that, after coming to Fengshanhai Pavilion, she thought she had grown up, and she had to share something for the master, so she made so many oolongs. Thinking about it now, many of her worries were unfounded. Master had already paved the way for her, so she didn't need to worry about it at all. Thinking of this, Tang Weiner giggled and said, It's good to have master's pain. By the way, Longchen, what do I need to do now? You can do whatever you want, sleep if you want to sleep, go out and play if you want to go out. Longchen said with a smile. Of course it would be nice to have a master. The lineage of Fengshan is the inheritance of the divine way. These people are the most loyal believers of Fengshan. As the strength of these people has improved, Tang Weiner's aura has undergone obvious changes. If Longchen can't see anything, it is a pig. Obviously, the way Feng Xinyue taught Tang Weiner was to pass on part of the power of faith to her. That's why Feng Xinyue asked Longchen to help these people and help them improve, which is tantamount to helping Tang Weiner improve. Originally, Longchen had always envied Ah Man, thinking that he could improve quickly just by eating. Now, Tang Weiner doesn't even need to eat, but she is improving when others practice. Fortunately, Tang Weiner is his woman, otherwise Longchen would be jealous to death. No wonder the Shinto inheritance looks down on the immortal inheritance, because they have unique advantages. The immortal inheritance looks down on the Shinto inheritance, mostly because of jealousy, not being able to eat grapes and saying grapes are sour. Long Chen muttered to himself. Shinto inheritance has a heaven-defying ability, that is, to whom the power of faith is transferred, even a pig can instantly become a god and sanctify. An inheritance has the power of belief for hundreds of millions of years, just like a family puts the wealth accumulated for hundreds of millions of years in one person's pocket. How can there be any fairness for other practitioners? As for the immortal cultivators, everything has to be done by themselves. Even if there is a family inheritance, it is just an assistance. If you want to go further, you need to work hard on your own. Looking at Tang Weiner's relaxed appearance, Long Chen thought of himself, step by step to the present day. This girl may surpass him at any time. Even if Tang Weiner is his woman, he still feels a little uncomfortable. Damn it, I'm fighting with them. There was a strong man who cursed and wanted to go crazy. He was instantly killed in the Qibao space several times in a row, but he didn't see who did it. I don't believe in that evil anymore, kill. Another Tianjiao also roared angrily, rushing into the Seven Treasures space again. Through the continuous slaughter in the Qibao space, these once sealed arrogances are undergoing rebirth all the time. As Feng Xinyue said, their talents are amazing, their potential is endless, and their strength is soaring crazily. They are like sword embryos. After being honed by the Seven Treasures space, their edge is gradually showing. Could it be that these people are reserved for Weiner? Seeing the astonishing potential of these people, Long Chen was shocked. If this is really the case, then this is a plan that has lasted for hundreds of millions of years. At that moment, Long Chen was completely shocked. 3 days later, the divine light of the Seven Treasures glazed tree became sluggish, and Long Chen had to put away the Seven Treasures glazed tree for everyone to rest for a day. After a day's rest, the Seven Treasure glazed tile tree returned to its peak state, and Long Chen summoned it again. This time, there was no need for Long Chen to greet them. The group of strong men broke into the Seven Treasures space like crazy and started the trial. Time was passing by quickly. Half a month later, a loud noise suddenly interrupted their practice. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.